Chapter 1924. For Ling Xiao, the battle that followed could be considered a mixed blessing. Ji Luoyu and Feng Minglian were eliminated. Lu Lian, Blue Snow, and Hong Yu successfully advanced. In the end, there were 4 people from the Celestial Empire who advanced to the second round. They were Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, Longchen, and Danfeng. Blue Snow and Lu Lian belonged to the Tianhai Empire. Hong Yu belonged to the Jingyi school. However, they had a good relationship with Ling Xiao. In the first round, 33 people were eliminated. Only half of the 66 people were left. All 13 top geniuses advanced. Sun Lingchan, Muan Shuang, Jun Maching, Jun Macho, and the other second-tier experts also successfully advanced. Basically, the dark horses were concentrated in the Celestial Empire. However, in the second round, apart from the top geniuses, there were only second-tier geniuses. All of them were truly tough battles. No one knew who would continue to stand in the arena in the third round. Although the eliminated cultivators had regretful expressions on their faces, they did not die. Compared to those who were killed in the arena, they were much better off. Moreover, after experiencing a battle, they had also gained quite a lot. At the very least, they recognized their own strength. After all, the 155 people who participated this time were all called geniuses in their respective factions. When geniuses met geniuses, who would be better? This was the true meaning of the white tiger meat. As for those who had advanced to the next round, they all had joyful expressions on their faces. As long as they did not die, they would be rewarded by the Black Tortoise Temple. The Black Tortoise Temple's reward would definitely not be ordinary. They were looking forward to it. Perhaps with this reward, they could be reborn and become even stronger. Such a thing had also happened in the past White Tiger Storm Conclave. Some people even had the opportunity to participate in the revival competition because of their cultivation breakthrough and their strength increase. Although there was no revival competition this time, man proposes, God disposes. If such a thing really happened, the revival competition would definitely be put on the agenda. The first round of battles is over. You have 2 hours to rest. Take the time to recover your strength and heal your injuries. The injured and exhausted martial artists were not willing to waste time, so they immediately sat down and began to rest. After all, not everyone had an easy victory. Many warriors had expended a lot of energy in the first round of battle. Of course, there were also some people who didn't consume much energy at all. In order to determine their next opponent, they needed to discuss with the people they trusted the most. After entering the second round of the Battle of the Kings, the top 10 still had the right to challenge opponents at will. Of course, he couldn't pick the top 10 warriors either. This rule was naturally to prevent powerhouses from bumping into each other too early. It could be considered a more reasonable measure of avoidance. It was also the reward for the second battle. Ling Xiao didn't say anything during the rest time. Instead, he continued to sit cross-legged and heal himself. It seemed like he had not fully recovered after being injured by Xianming yesterday. This scene was also witnessed by many observant people. Although Ling Xiao had killed Sora Aoi Fei, Sora Aoi Fei was too weak to prove anything. Those who were stronger than Sora Aoi still thought that Ling Xiao was an easy opponent to defeat. Of course, this was only relative. Among the top 10, he was the only one who was seriously injured. Moreover, his cultivation seemed to be only slightly higher than Long Chen's and lower than the others. However, Long Chen was a descendant of the dragon tribe, so he definitely wouldn't be easy to deal with. 2 hours passed quickly, but Ling Xiao still didn't open his eyes. There were still people who wanted to talk nonsense anyway, so he just listened. There was no need for him to move. Lawless said slowly, "There are already 33 people in the second round of battle, so one of them can choose to pass. The top 10 have the right to choose this slot, starting from the first place. If the top 10 don't choose to pass, the slot will be randomly selected by the rest of the people. Whoever is lucky will get it. Also, I have to remind you that if you choose to pass, you will lose the reward for the second round of battle. Every victory in the Battle of the Kings had a reward, which could be stacked with the advancement reward. The reward for victory was usually spirit stones, elixirs, secret cultivation techniques, and the like. The advancement reward might very well be something more valuable, such as an inherited memory. Therefore, according to Ling Zhao's estimation, the top 10 wouldn't choose to pass, as it wasn't necessary. The slot might end up in the hands of the people behind them. Listen up. Out of the 33 people, 17 will enter the next round, and in the next round, there will be 9 people left. Of course, one of them will pass. This is the key point. At this time, we will have a revival match. Whoever defeats the person who passes will have the right to advance to the last round and become one of the top 10 strongest people of the White Tiger meet. There really is a revival match. This is a great opportunity. A lot of the eliminated martial artists couldn't help but feel energized again. Many of them felt that it wasn't because they were too weak, but because they had encountered 2 strong opponents. If there was such a revival match, it would be a bridge for them to cross from failure to success. No matter how many people fought for it, they wouldn't give up. All right, that's all for the rules. Now, let's start from the first place. Who wants to pass? Lawless looked at the contestants and said, "I give up." Ling Xiao gave up without a second thought. Although he was injured, there was no need for him to pass. "I give up too." Cold Plum also said. Then, as Ling Xiao had said, the top 10 all gave up on passing. So they changed it to drawing lots. The one who drew the bye was Hong Yu of the Jingyi school. The little girl curled her lips, as if she still wanted to fight. She was really unhappy that she had drawn the bye. After all, her cultivation was not weak. She was even stronger than Ling Xiao. It was just that her actual combat ability was poor, so she hoped to have more actual combat experience. After the bye was drawn, the next step was naturally the official duel. Out of the 32 people, 16 of them would be directly eliminated. This was a very thrilling and exciting thing. This was because there were 13 top geniuses among the 32 people. For many people, there were only 3 slots for them to compete for. So far, no one in the audience thought that any of the 13 top geniuses would be eliminated. After all, these 13 people were too strong. Ling Xiao, choose your opponent. As long as it's out of the top 10, you can choose anyone. Lawless looked at Ling Xiao. He really wanted to know who would be unlucky enough to be chosen by Ling Xiao, the madman. In Lawless's mind, except for the 13 top geniuses, no one could be Ling Xiao's opponent. Being chosen by him meant being eliminated. It was that cruel. Not only him, but the others were also paying attention to Ling Xiao. Chapter 1925. If Ling Xiao wanted to advance to the next level easily, he would undoubtedly have to choose those who were weaker. For example, Jun Macho, Blue Snow, Dan Feng, Lu Lian, Long Chen, Jun Maching, Muan Chuang, and Sun Lingchan. Of course, the ones he should avoid the most were the 13 top geniuses. Who would he choose? Everyone was looking forward to it. I'll choose him. Everyone felt that this would be a difficult choice for Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao's choice was very quick and very simple. Almost without any hesitation, he pointed at one of them. Who did he choose? Some of the audience couldn't see the situation on the crystal screen because they were sitting far away. Moreover, the camera seemed to be surprised by Ling Xiao's choice and didn't capture that person in time. What are you still standing there for? I said I chose you. Could it be that the second disciple of Jingyi school, 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, doesn't dare to accept my challenge? This time, Ling Xiao not only pointed out but said it out loud. Everyone heard him clearly. He chose 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong. He was one of the 13 top geniuses, and a very strong one at that. Was this guy crazy? There were so many weaklings to choose from, but he chose such a strong opponent. How would they know that Ling Xiao had his reasons for choosing the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong? There wouldn't be many more battles left. He wanted to destroy his enemy in the arena fair and square. Killing Sora Aoi Fei in the first round was just the beginning. The second round was the main course. This 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, had caused trouble for him multiple times. If he didn't kill him, who would he kill? Moreover, they'd fought twice in the blood purgatory battles. Ling Xiao was more familiar with Wu Long than the little guy. Crown Prince Consort, Tianhai Tyranny, and Feng Fei. He was even more familiar than Lightning Python and Lightning Devourer. His choice seemed to be unintentional, but it was actually the result of careful consideration. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't see any problems with this choice, but the others saw it as a big problem. This was a crazy choice. Even the top-ranked Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, and Lei Lai wouldn't choose such a strong opponent in this round. He's crazy. Even if he can advance, he'll definitely be riddled with injuries. He'll definitely be finished in the next round. I don't think so. Isn't there a free pass in the next round? He has the right to choose first. That's too short of a time. Fighting against an opponent like the 100-eyed Demon Lord, Wulong, would consume a lot of energy. It's impossible for him to recover in such a short time. Everyone below the stage was discussing animatedly. Of course, most people thought that Ling Xiao was being silly. A single misstep could lead to a series of missteps. In the end, everything would fall apart. Ha 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 ha, that's great, that's great. I have been waiting for this battle for far too long. I thought I wouldn't have the chance to fight with you, but I didn't expect you to choose me. After confirming that Ling Xiao had chosen him, the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong was indescribably excited. This was true excitement, as he didn't perform well in the treasure hunt. His ranking was outside the top 10. This directly meant that he didn't have the right to choose his opponent. If Ling Xiao deliberately avoided him, then he might not meet Ling Xiao until the end. That would be too boring. He was still thinking about how to change the situation and give him a chance to fight with Ling Xiao. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to give him this opportunity of his own accord. Was he stupid or overconfident? None of these were important. What was important was that he wanted to kill Ling Xiao in front of everyone. At the same time, he wanted to return all the humiliation he suffered in the purgatory blood battle. Ling Xiao was very strong, but he wasn't weak either. In fact, in his opinion, he was much stronger than Ling Xiao. The two great experts stood in the arena. Neither of them was in a hurry to make a move. Ling Xiao was a cautious person. In addition, his opponent was very strong. He had to plan carefully before making a move. Meanwhile, 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong had to be careful because he had lost to Ling Xiao twice in a row in the purgatory blood battle. Otherwise, he might end up as a sailboat in the gutter. To tell the truth, he still couldn't see through Ling Xiao completely. This guy looked weak, but his actual fighting strength was extremely strong. He didn't quite understand this, but that was one thing. He wasn't afraid. A powerful battle intent was released. Not only was it a pressure on Ling Xiao, but it was also a demonstration of his confidence and strength. Even if his opponent was Ling Xiao or Tianhai Tyranny or Feng Fei, he wouldn't fear a fight. Now that he was facing Ling Xiao, there was no need to talk about his confidence. I chose you because you're weaker than the others, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Don't think you can use these psychological tactics to sway me. I, 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, have nothing but self-confidence. I can tell you clearly that no matter how strong you are, your choice this time was extremely stupid and wrong. 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong said coldly. The 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong said coldly, this choice will cost you your life. Now, you can say goodbye to your scoundrel friends. I haven't lived long enough yet. Ling Xiao smiled. I, Ling Xiao, always plan before acting. I've always thought thrice before acting. Since I chose you, it's because I can defeat you. Even if we take 10,000 steps back and say that you're stronger than I imagined. So what? I, Ling Xiao, will never regret my choices. Even if the path to hell is full of thorns, I'll walk it with my head held high until I flatten hell. You can kill me, but you can't make me regret it. Come, let's not waste words. Let's fight. Fine, then I'll fulfill your wish. 100-eyed demon Lord Wu Longhuan's eyes widened like an angry leopard. At the same time, a terrifying aura erupted from his body. and a huge shadow of a centipede appeared behind him. That was his martial soul. The centipede's body was densely packed with eyes. Many people with trypophobia couldn't help but close their eyes. They really couldn't watch anymore. After the martial soul was released, an even more powerful aura pressed down on Ling Xiao like a rolling wave. At the referee's table, the vice sect master of Jini's school stroked his beard and couldn't help but nod secretly. How could the second son of Jini's school be easy to deal with? That Ling Xiao would definitely make a mistake that would cause everlasting regret. Lord Sect Master, if Wu Long kills him, it should be fine, right? He suddenly looked at Xian Ming and asked, if he has the strength, then use Ling Xiao as a stepping stone to climb up. There's no problem. Xian Ming would hold back. But if Wu Long killed Ling Xiao, those people in the Heavenly Empire couldn't blame him. They could only blame Ling Xiao for being too arrogant and choosing an opponent that was impossible to defeat. He also thought highly of Ling Xiao's talent, but in terms of current strength, Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord Wulong was still stronger than Ling Xiao. Chapter 1926. Xian Ming refused to believe that Ling Xiao could defeat Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord Wulong unless something unexpected happened. You're all too confident. Suddenly, Nine Heavens Du's voice rang out in Xian Ming's mind. What does that have to do with you? Xian Ming frowned. Hatred has really blinded your eyes. You don't even have the most basic judgment. If you had calmed down, you would have discovered that the little fellow called Ling Xiao had the aura of a human monarch. Although we can't be sure if he's the successor, it shouldn't be hard to defeat that Wu Long. Nine Heavens Du's words were steady and wise, unlike Xian Ming's hatred and anger. You haven't appeared in a long time. You probably don't know that Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord Wulong is one of the 13 top geniuses of the White Tiger Continent. Ling Xiao is nothing. Xian Ming retorted. Nine Heavens Du smiled and didn't say anything else. Since Xian Ming didn't believe her, then let the truth speak for itself. Just like Nine Heavens Du, no one in the Heavenly Dynasty doubted Ling Xiao's abilities. They firmly believed that Ling Xiao could win. Unless there was a special reason, Ling Xiao wouldn't engage in meaningless challenges. This person was domineering and brave, but also smart and farsighted. He knew when to give up and wouldn't blindly charge forward. What do you think, Feng Fei? Tianhai Tyranny suddenly turned to ask. Ling Xiao will lose. Feng Fei said mildly, you don't understand Wulong. For today's battle, he cultivated day and night. He even went to dangerous places to cultivate. He didn't get to where he was today only because of his talent, but also because of his hard work. I've always believed that hard work will pay off. That Ling Xiao was clearly confused by the blood purgatory battles and thought he could defeat Wulong. She had looked down on Ling Xiao from the start. Feng Yinshan had once told her that Ling Xiao wasn't easy to deal with. She had never cared. In her eyes, Ling Xiao wasn't even worth mentioning. Die. In the arena, the hundred-eyed demon monarch, Wulong, could not help but make a move. He roared, and the demonic eye on his back released hundreds of beams of light that shot toward Ling Xiao. At the same time, he gathered all the strength in his body and formed a palm with both hands, slapping towards Ling Xiao. The palm shadows transformed into tens of thousands of palm shadows in the sky. It was obviously Sir God Qian Zu's inheritance, martial skill. Boom! It was as if heaven and earth were about to be torn apart by this terrifying palm wind. The entire arena began to tremble. As expected, the real hundred-eyed demon monarch Wulong was much stronger than the one in the Purgatory Blood War. He was indeed worthy of being the second son of the Jini school and one of the 13 top geniuses. The crowd couldn't help but cheer and shout. There were even people who were cheering for the hundred-eyed demon monarch Wulong. Most people looked down on Ling Xiao. After all, this was the White Tiger Continent, and the hundred-eyed demon Lord Wulong was the pinnacle genius of the White Tiger Continent. How could they allow a martial artist from the Dragon Phoenix continent to behave atrociously here? However, Ling Xiao remained calm in the face of the white-eyed demon dragon's overbearing attacks. His gaze was as calm as the surface of the water. He just stood there. Above his body, black gas began to spiral and rise, enveloping his body. That aura was still so overbearing, so arrogant, and so evil. At that moment, it was as if the entire arena was enveloped by this evil aura. Seeing this scene, Dan Feng couldn't help but be stunned. Then he smiled bitterly. His Majesty is indeed a peerless genius. With just one look, he learned how to create momentum. I can't compare with him. That's right. Ling Xiao was creating momentum. He wanted to turn this arena into the home ground of the devil. As if a terrifying devil was born in the arena, Ling Xiao's body suddenly became much bigger. Then his cold gaze stared at the palm shadows of the 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong. This guy is so evil. What kind of martial skill did he cultivate? The audience shuddered. Just by seeing the terrifying devil appear in the arena, their hearts began to twitch. It's this devil who killed Aoi Yugo and massacred the Xianfeng temple. In the crowd, Xian Yi fiercely clenched his fists. He finally knew who his enemy was. Although he had fought with Ling Xiao's heavenly demon incarnation before, because Ling Xiao couldn't see the real face of the incarnation, he couldn't be sure who his enemy was. But at this moment, he finally understood. Kill that devil. The entire arena burst into cheers. Almost 90% of the audience released endless hostility towards Ling Xiao. They definitely wouldn't allow a devil to tarnish the sacred arena. However, Ling Xiao's mouth revealed a cold smile. You want me to die, but I won't. You'll be disappointed. Boom! The terrifying heavenly demon claw directly clawed out. Then, the 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong's palm shadows that filled the sky were instantly shattered, inch by inch. Not a single palm landed on Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao looked down at the 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong. His cold voice came out from the devil's mouth. Looks like you haven't improved much since the purgatory blood battle. What? Everyone exclaimed. Is this Ling Xiao's true strength? Even the 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long can't stop him? Ling Xiao actually blocked the 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long's full-force attack with just one move? How could this guy be so powerful? The 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long's face stiffened. His eyes were filled with intense confusion. From the cultivation level that Ling Xiao displayed, he was only at the 13th level of the Yin-Yang realm. How could he be his match? Unless this guy was hiding his cultivation level. But just what level had his true cultivation reached? The 100-eyed demon monarch started to panic. Because his attack didn't succeed, his confidence started to crack. Kill! The 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long refused to believe that this was real. He gathered the yin-yang original energy again, and the terrifying energy gathered on his fists. This time there were no fist shadows, only his fists with a ferocious force smashed towards Ling Xiao. Scram! The heavenly demon yelled coldly, and a blood-red long sword appeared in his hand. The long sword danced, and the 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong seemed to see his body being split apart by the sword. At that moment, he didn't approach Ling Xiao. Instead, he retreated to the edge of the arena. Ling Xiao looked at Wulong indifferently and said disdainfully, "You keep saying that you want to kill me, but you don't even have the courage to approach me. 100-eyed demon monarch? Tui, I think you should just change your name to 100-eyed bug. In front of me, don't ever call yourself a demon monarch. You're just an insignificant bug. You can only bow down and worship me." Ling Xiao was really good at catching the opponent's weakness, including the psychological weakness. At that moment, the 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long's confidence was severely damaged. Facing Ling Xiao, he actually lost the courage to approach him. If that was the case, how could he possibly defeat Ling Xiao? Chapter 1927. Ling Xiao's sudden words caused the 100-eyed demon lord Wu Long's mind to become even more chaotic. Ever since he joined the Jingyi school, He'd been hailed as a rare genius, second only to Feng Fei. But even when facing Feng Fei, he'd never admitted defeat. He cultivated with all his might and worked hard, not daring to slack off for even a moment. He hoped that he could become an expert who could call the wind and summon the rain on the White Tiger continent. He could even head to the Xuanwu continent to continue his studies. Now, he was one of the 13 top geniuses of the White Tiger continent. Moreover, he was the second disciple of the Jingyi school. Such glory made him feel like his dreams were about to come true. No one could stop him from moving forward. Even if it was Feng Fei, Tianhai tyrannical ambition, or Lei Lai, he'd still win. But now he was afraid of a trifling Ling Xiao. This was simply impossible, but it was the truth. Ling Xiao had transformed into a celestial demon and was looking down on him. He was actually trembling with fear before this celestial demon. He didn't dare to look straight at him. It wasn't because he was timid, but because he'd used nearly 90% of his strength in his 2 attacks. Still, he couldn't hurt Ling Xiao at all. This made him feel discouraged and hopeless. It was as if the one standing before him wasn't Ling Xiao, but a god he could never defeat. An opponent he couldn't hurt made him feel powerless. What was the use of his cultivation? Wulong, are you still a disciple of my Jingyi school? Trash. Suddenly, a clear voice reached Wulong's ears. It was Feng Fei. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with powerful spiritual energy. In a flash, Wulong woke up from his confusion. His chaotic emotions, which were on the verge of collapse, quickly returned to normal. I almost fell for your trick. Hundred-eyed demon Lord Wulong raised his head to look at Ling Xiao, his cold eyes filled with killing intent. I can't hurt you, but you can't hurt me either. It's laughable that I lost all hope because of this. He seemed to suddenly understand and smiled confidently again. I, Wulong, am the second son of the Jingyi school. In terms of fighting skills, I won't lose to you. Since I can't kill you in a short time, let's compete in endurance. After saying that, an even more terrifying aura was released from his body. Behind him, another illusory figure appeared, the 1,000-legged worm. Centipedes and 1,000-legged worms looked very similar in appearance, but they were fundamentally different. One of them had 100 devil eyes. One was long and had countless tentacles. The 2 huge demonic bugs stared at Ling Xiao's heavenly devil incarnation. Wulong's eyes were filled with merciless killing intent. Kill! He roared again, and the 2 demonic insects flew towards Ling Xiao from 2 different directions. Not only did the evil aura in the air not weaken the 2 demonic insects, they became even more ferocious. Royal Sky Force, Firmament Fist. A trace of mockery appeared in Ling Xiao's cold eyes. He then waved his hand and a green light shot into the sky. A huge fist fell from the sky and blasted towards the 2 demonic insect phantoms. Crack! Roar! The terrifying fist smashed into the centipede's head and sent the 1,000-legged worm flying. The 1,000-legged worm let out a frightened cry and retreated behind the 100-eyed demon. Lord Wulong. Xiao remained standing in place with a smile on his face. He looked down at Wulong and said, You think Feng Fei's words can save you? You're just deceiving yourself and others. In front of me, you won't stand a chance. You'll be easily killed by me, just like in the Purgatory blood battle. This guy, he's too good at controlling the situation. And how did his strength increase to such a terrifying level? This doesn't make sense. Feng Fei's face finally showed signs of astonishment. He thought that the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong could completely crush Ling Xiao in this battle. Unexpectedly, the entire situation of the battle had been reversed. Ling Xiao was not only good at controlling his opponent's emotions and not letting go of any openings, but his own strength was frighteningly strong as well. He can't be at the 13th level of the Yin-Yang realm, Zui Linglong muttered to herself. After all, the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong was at the peak of the 17th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Moreover, He could challenge ordinary martial artists at the 18th level of the Yinyang realm. But against Ling Xiao, he had no advantage at all. This meant that Ling Xiao's cultivation couldn't be low either. They weren't the only ones surprised. The spectators were even more astonished. In their eyes, Ling Xiao was just a minor character who took advantage of loopholes. It was already amazing that he could enter the final battle of the kings, but now he was even suppressing the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong. How could his strength be so terrifying? Now, it looked like Ling Xiao had won first place in the treasure hunting battle by no coincidence or luck, but because he had the strength to back it up. This fellow was treating the White Tiger continent's top geniuses like ants, toying with them in every possible way. This made the White Tiger continent's cultivators indignant, but they couldn't do anything about it. They had fought fair and square in the ring, and did not use any underhanded methods. Even if they had won fair and square. Damn it, could it be that what he said was true? Was I just deceiving myself and others? Believing myself infallible? Am I really as useless as an ant in front of him? The 100-eyed demon lord Wulong was once again in a state of chaos. Furthermore, he was in an even deeper state than before. Wulong had confidently arrived at the 10,000 Lightning Extreme Grounds. He'd entered the White Tiger meet as an expert. In the past, he'd looked down on Ling Xiao and couldn't even be bothered to spare him a glance. But now, faced with this person he looked down on, he'd sunk into a trough of chaos and was unable to extricate himself. He was in a complete mess. His confidence was completely shattered, and his heart sank to the bottom of the valley. Even Feng Fei could only shake his head, helplessly. Wulong's mental fortitude is too weak. With his strength, even if he couldn't kill Ling Xiao, there was no way he'd lose. He might even have the advantage. But now that his mind's in chaos, he can't do anything. He's even forgotten his own trump card. How is he supposed to fight this battle? Afterwards, she looked towards the rest of the Zhenyi school. Remember, when you meet this Ling Xiao, you must first establish your confidence. No matter what, you mustn't lose your footing. His strength isn't as strong as you see it. You should learn from the fourth son, Jun Emoqing. Although he lost miserably to Tianhai tyranny, he quickly recovered his self-confidence. That's the right thing to do. As you bid, senior sister. All of the Zhenyi school participants and non-participants nodded their heads in agreement. Feng Fei naturally wouldn't harm them. Psychological tactics are just tricks for the weak. The strong don't need them at all. Tianhai tyranny gave a cold snort, disdaining everything Ling Xiao had done. Chapter 1928. 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong wasn't any weaker than Ling Xiao, but he couldn't display his full strength. In front of Ling Xiao, he'd even lost the courage to fight. From the very beginning of the battle, Ling Xiao had been building momentum. Then he used this momentum and his own strength to put pressure on the 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong. Of course, the most important factor was that Wulong had lost to him twice in the blood purgatory battles and had almost been killed. Although Wulong didn't admit defeat, a shadow had long formed in his heart. Why did Ling Xiao choose him as his opponent? It was because of this advantage. Under Ling Xiao's arrangements, the shadow that had been hidden in his heart had completely turned into an inner demon, causing the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong to completely fall into Ling Xiao's trap. Wulong, look at your opponent. He's just a nobody from the Tianlong continent. Where's your pride? You're the pride of our Zhenyi school. Are you going to lose to a nobody like this? Even if our Zhenyi school's martial artists lose, we can't be so dispirited. Even if we die in battle, we have to die with a bang. Do you want all the martial artists in the world to treat you as a joke? The speaker was the vice sect leader of the Zhenyi school. Although Feng Fei had given up on saving Wulong, he couldn't do so as the vice sect leader. As the saying went, the onlooker sees more clearly. As an expert, he could clearly see that Ling Xiao's current strength wasn't even as good as Wulong's. Still, he had grasped Wulong's mentality and led him into a bottomless abyss. Thus, he wanted to wake Wulong up. Martial artists didn't fear a lack of strength, but a complete loss of confidence. This Ling Xiao was truly sinister. Perhaps he knew he wasn't as strong as Wulong, so he used such despicable methods. Once he lost this battle, Wulong wouldn't be willing to accept it, either. This child had been especially arrogant back in the Jingyi school. Besides Feng Fei, he refused to submit to anyone. Even when the other disciples called Feng Fei senior sister, he still called her junior sister. Ah, hundred-eyed demon, Lord Wulong let out a hysterical roar. His voice pierced the skies and seemed to disperse the haze above him. The centipede and thousand-legged worms entered his body at the same time. He began to transform again. He didn't want to use such an ugly transformation, but now that he was facing Ling Xiao, he had to make a final gamble. Although he had already lost his confidence, if he staked everything he had, he might be able to win a chance of survival. Terrifying power continued to leak out from his body, as if he was about to explode. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." All of his strength was poured into his fists, and he urged his ugly body to attack Ling Xiao. His fist struck Ling Xiao's heavenly demon incarnation. Crack! Fei Fei Fei's form. Lord Wu Long's SS Fei Fei. Fei 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 Fei. Finally, he'd broken through Ling Xiao's defenses. How could he not be excited? But in the next moment, an icy voice spoke by his ear, causing him to sink into oblivion. How pitiful! You spent so much effort and didn't even hesitate to release such an ugly transformation. I could only release my celestial devil transformation to satisfy your vanity. Otherwise, you'd have lost all hope. The second disciple of the Jingyi school, the 13 top geniuses of the White Tiger continent. You actually need my pity to gain a bit of self-confidence. How disappointing. What? The hundred-eyed demon monarch, Wulong, was completely subdued by his taunting words. He'd spared no expense to unleash his terrifying power, but he still couldn't hurt Ling Xiao? So Ling Xiao thought he was pitiful and withdrew his celestial devil transformation? How laughable and lamentable. He was one of the 13 top geniuses, yet he was so incompetent and pitiful before a mere Ling Xiao. Of course, Wulong had no idea that the vice sect leader of the Jingyi school was shouting at the top of his lungs outside this isolated battlefield. He wanted to wake him up. This Ling Xiao is really despicable. The disciples of the Jingyi school roared angrily. Yes, it was clearly senior brother Wulong who defeated his celestial devil transformation, but he actually said that he withdrew his own transformation and gave senior brother Wulong a strong mental blow. The onlookers saw it the clearest. Only they knew that Wulong's final attack had worked. But so what? Ling Xiao had used some unknown method to block the entire battlefield. The sounds and even the images outside couldn't be transmitted inside, so they couldn't warn Wulong at all. Despicable? I admire this person very much. After his celestial devil transformation was destroyed, he could still maintain such a calm expression. If it weren't for that, I'm afraid senior brother Wulong wouldn't have been deceived. Jun Macho said indifferently. She had some friendship with Ling Xiao, but her words weren't on Ling Xiao's side. In a real battle, there was no such thing as despicable or not despicable. In fact, psychological tactics were part of the battle itself. Pathetic trash, you can't hurt me after all your hard work. And you actually said that you want to kill me? Forget it. Your attacks really make me feel bored. With this next attack, I'll let you bid farewell to this world completely. After saying that, Ling Xiao stretched out his hand and grabbed the hundred-eyed demon lord's neck, revealing a sinister smile. How dare you? The deputy sect master of the Jingyi school stood up and shouted, "Idiot!" Ling Xiao didn't even look at the deputy sect master. The rules were very clear. The opponent could either admit defeat or be killed. At this time, Wulong had no way to admit defeat. His neck was grabbed by Ling Xiao, and he couldn't even breathe properly. How could he speak? What's more, Ling Xiao had blocked the sound of the outside world. Even if the 100-eyed demon lord wanted to admit defeat, his voice couldn't be heard. Boom! Terrifying flames were released from Ling Xiao's hand and then burned on the body of the 100-eyed demon lord. In just a few minutes, Wu Long was completely turned into ashes. Ling Xiao removed the barrier and then said in a clear voice, "Those who want to kill me, best remember that if you can't kill me, you will die. I, Ling Xiao, will keep my word." While speaking, he intentionally or unintentionally glanced at the crown princess, Xiao Budian, and Lei Meng. Next, one of these three people would become the target of his killing. I know that many people here want to kill me. Tian High Tyranny, the crown princess, Xiao Budian, Lei Meng, and many others. You even plotted and assassinated me in the previous 2 battles. But I'm sorry, I, Ling Xiao, am still alive and I'm living very well. You want to kill me, so I won't be merciful to you. Water God Temple, just wait for your sect to be destroyed. State of White Horse, just you wait for my revenge. As long as I'm alive, you must die. Since we've already shed all pretense of cordiality, let's see who will live to the end. Chapter 1929. Ling Xiao's sudden outburst of cold words caused everyone who had a grudge against him to frown involuntarily. Actually, they had planned to kill Ling Xiao. Many people came to the extreme Thundergrounds to assassinate Ling Xiao. However, they only planned to do it secretly and did not want to make a big deal out of it. However, Ling Xiao's words today had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. Either you die or I live. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao, so Ling Xiao had to kill them. It was very fair. Perhaps you won't even live to see the end of the white tiger meat. Tianhai Mingyue, the sect master of Water Spirit Hall, looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, "Even if you survive, I'll still kill you. You killed my daughter and my most valued disciple. If I don't take revenge, I swear I'm not human. Haha, unless you attack now, do you think you'll still be a match for me once the white tiger meat ends?" Ling Xiao looked at Tianhai Mingyue with disdain and said, "The 18th level of the Yin-Yang realm is indeed very strong, but it's not impossible for me to defeat you." He was not being arrogant. He had the confidence to do so. Ling Xiao could now kill a 17th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Although it was not easy, he could already do it. His current cultivation was at the peak of the 14th level of the Yin-Yang realm. It was only a matter of time before he broke through. He won first place in the treasure hunt and obtained the metal cube. According to Lawless, there should be something good inside. No matter what it was, it might help him continue to break through. As long as his cultivation broke through to the 15th level of the Yin-Yang realm, it would be easier to defeat Tianhai Mingyue. Moreover, every time he advanced in the Battle of the Kings, he would be rewarded. He did not believe that with his talent he would not be able to kill Tianhai Mingyue by the end of the white tiger meat. Tianhai Mingyue's expression changed slightly when she heard Ling Xiao's words. Although Ling Xiao's words were extremely arrogant, she had to admit that this kid really had the talent and ability. If she missed this opportunity, she might not have another chance. This kid's growth was too fast and too crazy. Every time, he would bring a pleasant surprise. "Do you think you can survive the white tiger storm meat?" A cold voice sounded. Ling Xiao glanced at him indifferently. If it wasn't Xiao Budian, who else could it be? Xiao Budian's hatred for Ling Xiao was somewhat abnormal. Apart from Ling Xiao ruining his plans in Blackwind Canyon, there should be other grudges. But Ling Xiao couldn't remember. He had never met this guy before. What kind of enmity could there be between them? However, the other party's desire to kill him was real. "His life is mine. Since it's either you die or I live, then you can only die." The crown princess also spoke. Although her cultivation might not be as strong as 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong, she was definitely not as stupid as him. A little psychological tactic could cause an emotional breakdown. It was simply stupid. Don't forget that there's still me. The White Tiger Empire's Lei Meng also roared. "You might have the upper hand in the myriad demon graveyard, but don't even think about beating me outside." After watching the battle just now, Lei Meng finally understood why he had lost to Ling Xiao in the myriad demon graveyard. It was because Ling Xiao had received the support of demonic energy from that strange spatial crack, while he couldn't display his full strength. This grudge, naturally had to be resolved. The three of them spoke one after another, surprising the audience. What did Ling Xiao do to make 4 of the 13 top geniuses target him like this? Wu Long was already dead. These 3 wouldn't be as easy to deal with as Wu Long. The spectators could see that Ling Xiao wasn't necessarily stronger than Wu Long. The only reason he could win was because of some despicable tricks. Such tricks could be used once, but they definitely wouldn't work a second time. Therefore, Ling Xiao was truly in danger this time. Ha ha ha, Ling Xiao, did you hear that? You might not even live to see the end of the white tiger meet, so how can you fight me? Tianhai Mingyue couldn't help but laugh loudly. The others who had a grudge against Ling Xiao also rejoiced in his misfortune. After being targeted by Xiao Budian, the Crown Princess, and Lei Meng, Ling Xiao was doomed to die. The 3 of you just wait. Even if you want to die, you have to come one by one. Don't worry, the choice is in my hands. I will choose the most suitable person to kill, just like Wu Long. 13 top geniuses? What a joke! Your era of self-righteousness is over. How arrogant! Everyone was stunned. They had thought that Ling Xiao would be afraid of their provocation. But Ling Xiao's reaction was completely different from what they had expected. Not only was he not afraid, but he also displayed a powerful fighting spirit, clearly saying that he would find an opportunity to finish off the 3 of them. Facing 3 of the 13 top geniuses, he was actually so confident and so domineering. It was truly incredible. Could it be that the White Tiger continent was really going to change? We'll wait. The Crown Princess, Xiao Budian, and Lei Meng naturally weren't afraid of battle, although the 100-eyed demon Lord Wu Long's death had surprised them. Ling Xiao hadn't displayed too much fighting strength. It was truly hard for them to accept his victory. Moreover, the 3 of them all believed that they were stronger than Ling Xiao. All right, let's not delay the battle. Cold Plum, it's your turn to fight. Lawless really couldn't stand Ling Xiao's suicidal actions. If there really was danger, he wouldn't know whether to save him or not. What a headache! Cold Plum stood up, looked at Ling Xiao, and said, "Master, who should I choose?" Her goal in participating in the White Tiger meet was purely to get closer to Ling Xiao. As for anything else, she had never thought about it. Ever since she was saved by Ling Xiao, this girl felt that she could completely live for Ling Xiao for the rest of her life. Choose the person ranked 9th in the genie school. Ling Xiao said lightly. He was going to go all out against the genie school today. Who asked the people of the genie school to be enemies with the Heavenly Empire? Got it, Master. Cold Plum stepped into the arena and looked at the 9th genius of the genie school. She knew very well that Ling Xiao's choice was not only to deal with the genie school, but also to reduce the pressure on her and hone her combat skills. The enemy couldn't be too strong or too weak, so the 9th genius was the most suitable. Hee, Brother Ling, Sister Cold Plum will deal with the 9th brother. I'll kill the 8th brother later. Long Chin stood to the side and chuckled. Of course, he knew why Ling Xiao was so against the genie school. In addition to the 5th and 6th sons and the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, the most important thing was that Ling Xiao had been assassinated by the people of the genie school when he was in the divine Phoenix continent. The genie school had also supported the Phoenix Cry Chishan to besiege and kill his brother Ling. This hatred was absolutely irreconcilable. Then I'll deal with Jun Emoqing. Sun Lingchan also expressed her stance. Chapter 1930. Sun Lingchan's statement meant that she was on the same side as Ling Xiao. This was also a form of support for Ling Xiao. This was an attitude. At this time, the Jingyi school members didn't look too good. Their Zhengyi school was high and mighty, but they were being targeted by a small country from the Dragon Phoenix continent. They tried to spread their doctrines to the Heavenly Empire, but were rejected. Originally, They wanted to send a few experts to the Heavenly Empire to intimidate them into submission. But today, the Heavenly Empire's martial artists gave them a show of strength first. Ha ha ha, interesting, interesting. It looks like the later the battle will be more exciting. It's tit for tat, with no one giving way to the other. The smell of gunpowder created by the people on the stage excited the spectators. Many of them had come to watch the show. Although they were biased, the more exciting the battle was, the more their efforts would not be in vain. The Crown Prince Consort, Xiao Badian, and Lei Meng all said they wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Feng, Fei, Tian Hai Tyranny, and Lei Lai probably wouldn't let Ling Xiao go either. But Ling Xiao wasn't afraid at all. In the face of his opponent's provocation, he responded strongly. More interestingly, Ling Xiao's lineup wasn't weak at all. Ling Xiao, Sun Lingchan, Cold Plum, and Long Chun were the four biggest dark horses of this year's White Tiger meet. Who would make it to the end was really something to look forward to. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't force it. It didn't matter whether he killed the Genie school members or not. As long as he could defeat them and eliminate them, that was enough. He wanted to make the Genie school lose face. Come up. Cold Plum looked coldly at the ninth genius of the Genie school. But that person's expression was a little ugly. Cold Plum had already shown her strength before, so he didn't have much confidence. Don't worry, I'm not wearing the colored glass armor. There's no need to deal with you. Cold Plum had worn the colored glass armor in her first battle because her opponent was stronger. There was no need for him to fight against the ninth genius of the Genie school. This was because she couldn't always rely on the colored glaze armor to hone her battle skills. That was the most important thing. Really? The ninth genius was stunned for a moment before he exclaimed in surprise, "If I use the colored glaze armor, I will lose." Cold Plum said indifferently, "Fine, you asked for it. Don't blame me. I will avenge my fifth senior brother." The ninth genius immediately used his killer move. Because Cold Plum had killed his fifth son, he wanted to avenge his fifth son. "If you want to kill me, then don't blame me for killing you." Cold Plum's voice was cold and merciless. It was as if a cold air had been injected into the ninth genius's body. The next moment, Cold Plum suddenly disappeared. She was nowhere to be seen in the arena. Even the crystal screen could not capture her presence. Die. Just as the ninth son was searching for Lung Mei's figure in horror, a sharp dagger had already pierced through his back. What's going on? Martial artists with low cultivation and poor eyesight probably couldn't see what Cold Plum had done. Among the crowd, there were many such martial artists. This battle was baffling to them, and they were confused about what was going on. One moment, Cold Plum was still more than 10 meters away from the ninth genius. The next moment, Cold Plum's dagger had pierced her opponent's heart. The distance of more than 10 meters was crossed in an instant. One move, just one move, the pitiful ninth genius died just like that. Even at the moment of his death, he didn't know what had happened to him. It seems that Cold Plum's progress is a little beyond my expectations. This kind of opponent is still too weak. Below the stage, Ling Xiao couldn't help but smile. He thought he could give Cold Plum a chance to hone her battle skills. But now it looked like her opponent wasn't strong at all. By now, only Feng Fei, Zui Linglong, Jun Maching, Jun Macho, Hong Yu, and the eighth genius from the Jingyi school were left. Next, the Jingyi school's nightmare would continue. Sun Lingchan said he would defeat Jun Maching. Long Qin said he would defeat the eighth genius. Through Cold Plum's battle, it was clear that these two weren't just empty words. They really did have the strength. Soon, the number of Jingyi school participants would dwindle. Feng Fei's expression was unsightly. She was the one who'd led the team for the White Tiger meet this time. Despite her strength and calculations, she'd still suffered such heavy losses. This was a huge mistake. Even if the sect didn't punish her, she couldn't forgive herself. The Jingyi school members stared fixedly at Ling Xiao. They believed that the main culprit behind all this was Ling Xiao. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, their Jingyi school wouldn't have suffered such heavy losses. Ling Xiao had to die. Even the vice-sect master of the Jingyi school, who was sitting in the referee's seat, thought so. Such a dangerous man couldn't be allowed to exist. Soon enough, the stage was cleaned up. The third match began. Feng Fei chose Lu Lian to fight because she was on Ling Xiao's side. Lu Lian chose to forfeit. In any case, she didn't have the confidence to fight Feng Fei, so she might as well give up. Once the fight started, it had hurt her confidence even more. Running into Feng Fei was her bad luck. "I'm sorry, Lu Lian. It's all because of me that you can't advance to the next round." Ling Xiao comforted her when he saw her disappointed expression. "How can I blame you, big brother Ling? It's my lack of skill. Moreover, since I chose to stand on your side, it's only to be expected that I'll be targeted." Lu Lian was very free and easy. "No matter what, I won't let you suffer losses if you follow me like this. I'll refine all the precious ingredients I got from the myriad devils' graveyard into pills so that you can improve with me." In this world, there was no such thing as friendship or sacrifice for no reason. Others sacrificed for you because you could sacrifice for them. It was that simple. Many thanks. For the fourth match, Tianhai Tyranny chose Blue Snow. This guy really knew how to pick people. Blue Snow had a deep relationship with Ling Xiao and was clearly easier to deal with than Danfeng. Under Ling Xiao's persuasion, Blue Snow chose to forfeit the match. Tianhai Tyranny advanced smoothly. For the fifth match, Lei Lai didn't choose Danfeng, but the easiest opponent to deal with. This guy was very cautious. If he could use as little strength as possible, he wouldn't use any more. The result was obvious. His opponent was easily defeated. For the sixth match, Sun Lingchan chose Jun Emoqing as expected. Although she had no grudges with him, he was a member of the Jingyi school. Naturally, she had to help Ling Xiao deal with him. Jun Emoqing didn't shrink back and chose to fight Sun Lingchan. Almost everyone thought that this would be a stalemate, but the final result left everyone dumbfounded. Sun Lingchan only used one move to defeat Jun Emoqing. Chapter 1931. Sun Lingchan defeated Jun Moqing with one move. Moreover, the majority of people didn't even see how she executed this move. Ling Xiao saw it clearly. It was a silver needle that was directly inserted into Jun Moqing's by Hui Acupoint. If Sun Lingchan had not shown mercy, Jun Emoqing's soul would have already left hateful heaven. "Thank you for not killing me." Jun Moqing was stunned for a moment. He was convinced of his defeat. In the seventh battle, Long Qin chose the eighth genius of the Jingyi school. However, this time, the people of the Jingyi school had learned their lesson and directly chose to forfeit the battle. After seeing how terrifying Cold Plum was and how Long Qin killed the 10th genius in the first round, he had lost his courage long ago. After this person forfeited the battle, he flew down from the seat that only the participating warriors were qualified to sit on and returned to the spectator stand. This was because he wanted to accompany everyone in the Jingyi school to see Ling Xiao and his friends being defeated and even killed. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to vent the anger in his heart. There was almost no suspense in the following battles. In the 8th battle, Zui Linglong won easily. In the 9th battle, Tiny Tot chose Danfeng. This battle was truly a little tragic. Danfeng was a person who was unwilling to compromise. Ling Xiao didn't persuade him. He just gave him the colored glaze armor, which could at least save his life. In the end, Danfeng was knocked out of the arena and failed with serious injuries. Although the rules didn't explicitly state that being knocked out of the arena was considered a failure, this had long been an unwritten rule. "Humph, you're lucky." Tiny Tot was also very upset. Although Danfeng was not as good as him, he had used hundreds of moves to defeat him. In addition, Danfeng was wearing the colored glaze armor, so he couldn't kill him. The most unpleasant thing was that this bastard had actually injured him leaving a deep wound on his shoulder that exposed his bones. He had really gone too far. Sorry, I'm no match for him. After saying this, Dan Feng fainted. Naturally, he was talking to Ling Xiao. You've done very well. Ling Xiao directly took out an elixir and stuffed it into Dan Feng's mouth. Then he was about to heal Dan Feng. Brother Ling, let me do it. Save your strength to continue fighting. Lu Lian blocked his path. That's right, big brother. Let me help too. Blue Snow was the same as Lu Lian. She basically did not consume much energy. Their cultivations were not bad either. It was not a problem for them to heal Dan Feng. Thank you. Ling Xiao didn't refuse his kindness. Dan Feng's injuries were more serious. Although he had taken his special healing elixir, he still needed a large amount of yin and yang energy to activate it. If he wanted to treat Dan Feng's injuries, then the following battle would most likely be a little uncertain. You're dead. Ling Xiao stood up and coldly glanced at the little guy. He had to kill this person. I'm waiting for you. The little guy sneered and also went back to treat his injuries. He was actually injured by Dan Feng. This was truly an accident. The 10th battle, Heavenly Wolf Young Master. The 11th battle, Silver Wolf Princess. The 12th battle, Green Hill Fairy. The 13th battle, Green Hill Lihua. The 14th battle, Crown Princess. And the 15th battle, Lei Tun won all of them. What was worth mentioning was the battle between the Crown Princess and Jun Macho. Jun Macho displayed excellent fighting skills, which made the Crown Princess very uncomfortable. But after 100 moves, Jun Macho was defeated because his cultivation was not as good as the Crown Princess. He directly admitted defeat. In fact, Jun Macho was already very satisfied to have made it this far. For her, even if she entered the next round, she would not be able to advance any further. After all, among the remaining 17 people, except for Hong Yu, who had a bye, the others were not easy to deal with. In the round of 16, Lei Mang, as one of the 13 top geniuses, had no choice but to fight with Mu Wanshuang. Mu Wanshuang was one of the Tianhai Empire's 4 prodigies. It was rumored that her strength was on par with Sun Lingchan, and that both of them were second only to Tianhai tyranny. But Lei Mang didn't seem to care about Mu Wanshuang. In fact, Mu Wanshuang had not displayed any outstanding fighting skills from the beginning until now. Before the battle, Ling Xiao suddenly sighed. What a pity. I originally wanted to kill Lei Mang, but now it seems that I won't have the chance. No way. Is Mu Wanshuang stronger than Lei Mang? Sun Lingchan asked, somewhat surprised. Miss Sun, you have to be careful of this Mu Wanshuang. Her scheming is probably no less than that Fan Ruohai's, and her strength is unfathomable. If you look closely, you'll notice that her strength is dependent on the person she meets. It seems that she's deliberately hiding something in every battle. Ling Xiao reminded her. Sun Lingchan didn't quite believe it, so she looked at the stage. She and Mu Wanshuang were old acquaintances. Could it be that she didn't understand Mu Wanshuang as well as Ling Xiao? But soon she was stunned. Mu Wanshuang had seen the opportunity on the 293rd move and killed Lei Mang in one move. Then she turned to look at Ling Xiao and said, Ling Xiao, this is a generous gift from our young master. With that, she walked down the stage. Although this battle was the last, it was almost the finale. Out of the 13 top geniuses, another one had been eliminated. It was really too surprising. Of course, even more surprising was that the Fan family of the Tianhai Empire had actually expressed goodwill to Ling Xiao. What was going on? Thank you, young Master Fan. Ling Xiao cupped his hands at Fan Ruohai below the stage. Although this person's goodwill wasn't sincere and was driven by his own interests, they could still become allies if they had common interests. At this point, all 16 battles had ended. 3 people from the Tianhai Empire advanced. Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, Long Qin. 5 people from the Tianhai Empire advanced. Tianhai Tyranny, Crown Princess, Sun Lingchan, Mu Wanshuang, Xiao Budian. In fact, if the 3 from the Tianhai Empire were included, The Tianhai Empire accounted for almost half of the people who advanced. The remaining 9 people were divided between the other 3 empires and the Genie School. 2 from the White Tiger Empire, 2 from the Yueling Empire, 2 from the Silver Fox Empire, and 3 from the Genie School. No one expected that the Tianhai Empire would become the big winner of this year's White Tiger meet. They had completely crushed the other 4 factions. Of the remaining 17 people, apart from Hong Yu, who advanced without a bye, none of the other 16 were easy to deal with. For the audience, this made them extremely excited and expectant. Next would be a true battle between the strong, and the battles would be even more exciting than before. Among these people, Ling Xiao, Long Chen, and Hong Yu's cultivation levels were slightly lower, at least on the surface. The others were all above the 17th level of the Yinyang realm. Only the 3 of them appeared to be at the 16th level of the Yinyang realm. Long Chen was at the 15th level of the Yinyang realm. Ling Xiao was only at the 14th level of the Yinyang realm. Long Chen's cultivation level had finally surpassed Ling Xiao's again. However, he knew best that Ling Xiao's cultivation level had been progressing slower recently because he had spent most of his energy cultivating the mystic world body and the Crimson Sun sword art. Long Chen, on the other hand, had put all his energy into breaking through. In addition to the dragon race's terrifying cultivation talent in terms of speed, he might be the fastest in the mystic world. It was normal for him to surpass Ling Xiao by 1 level. Chapter 1932. Of course, Long Chen's slightly higher cultivation level than Ling Xiao's wouldn't last long. Long Chen was very clear about Ling Xiao's situation. He had already reached the power to break through. All he needed was an opportunity to break through. And every time he broke through, he needed to accumulate power. In other words, his big brother Ling could break through whenever he wanted. The reason he didn't break through was because the timing wasn't good, and he couldn't compare with him. It was really infuriating to compare with others. Next, it's still a 2-hour break. Hurry up and recover. Lawless looked at the crowd and announced. When the audience heard this, they all ran far away. During the break, they could go to the toilet and eat something. When the battle really started later, they wouldn't have that kind of time. Ling Xiao walked to Danfeng's side. Looking at Danfeng's pale face, he sighed and said, You, why did you have to fight with that little guy? He, Brother Ling, you're wrong. Although I was injured when I fought with him, the bottleneck of my cultivation level was broken. My cultivation has broken through again. Danfeng's face showed a miserable smile. Sai, if you die, what's the use of breaking through? Everyone says I'm crazy, but I think you're even crazier. Ling Xiao sighed and said, When you're crazy, I can't compare. Danfeng shook his head and said, Ling Xiao's magnificent feat in the Divine Phoenix Empire back then. He had seen it with his own eyes and remembered it in his heart. The true lunatic was definitely none other than this heavenly emperor. All right, let's not talk about it. You should heal well and try to get into the top 10 through the revival battle. Ling Xiao patted Danfeng lightly and then walked back to his seat. Brother Ling, who else do you need me to take care of next? Tell me, we're all in the same boat anyway, no need to be polite. Sun Lingchan just sat down and said with a smile, Just pick someone you can win. I'm going to choose the Crown Princess for this battle. Ling Xiao originally had 3 people to choose from. One was the little guy, one was Thunder Python, and one was the Crown Princess. But the Lightning Python had been destroyed by Mu Wanshuang. Because Xiao Budian was ranked within the top 10, he could not choose. Therefore, he could only choose the Crown Princess. You're making things difficult for us. None of our next opponents are easy to deal with. Why don't I choose little Hong Yue? Sun Lingchan smiled and said to Hong Yue, who had just run over to play with Ling Xiao, Sure, big sister, but you might not be able to beat me. Hong Yue said with a grin. Don't rush to make a decision. I think there will be some slight changes to the rules this time because there are only 17 people left. If one person is given a bye, there will be 16 people left. If the top 10 all have the right to choose, but they can't choose the top 10 martial artists, then there won't be enough choices at all. Ling Xiao said with a smile. That's true. Sun Lingchan sighed. If she had a choice, she might be able to play with Hongyue. If not, then there may be no hope. In any case, let's leave it to fate. In the final battle, no one can help anyone. Moreover, there are no weaklings. It's all up to the city. Ling Xiao was free and easy, no matter how the rules changed. As the first place of the treasure hunt, he had the advantage. Thus, it was impossible for him to meet Tianhai Tyranny, Feng Fei, or Lei Lai now. That's right. We've already come this far. What's there to be afraid of? Long Qin grinned as well. Even if we lose, it's worth it. 2 hours passed quickly. Dan Feng's complexion looked much better as he healed. The spectator stands were once again filled to the brim. Even the distant branches and mountain peaks were filled with people. The usually cold and cheerless 10,000 Lightning Extreme Grounds was bustling with noise and excitement. In this round, there will be no more selection or drawing of lots for the buy spots. After the battle, the person who's left will be considered a buy. In addition, the top 8 martial artists have the right to choose their opponents. No one is allowed to challenge the top 8. The rest of the rules remain unchanged. Begin. The only thing that changed was the number of buy spots and the number of martial artists with special privileges. Nothing else had changed. Then there was nothing to care about. In any case, Ling Xiao wasn't planning on taking the buy spot. Ling Xiao, choose your opponent, Lawless said as he looked at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao nodded and walked onto the stage. He'd long decided who to pick. He crooked his finger and looked disdainfully at the crown princess consort. Go on stage. It's time for you to say goodbye to this world. What a joke! The crown princess directly stepped onto the arena and looked disdainfully at Ling Xiao as she said, If I were you, I wouldn't challenge an opponent that I can't defeat at this time. I admit that you have great talent and astonishing growth. If you were given more chances, you'd probably grow to a shocking level. But right now, you're definitely not my opponent. The crown princess was very happy that Ling Xiao had chosen her, because she wasn't ranked in the top 8. She didn't have the right to choose her opponent. It was very likely that she would have to fight with another top genius in the end. That would be the worst thing that could happen. Now that Ling Xiao had chosen her, it was a kind of fortune for her. She never thought that Ling Xiao would be her opponent. You're very confident. Ling Xiao looked at the crown princess consort and smiled. Of course, I'm confident in defeating you. I even have to thank you. If you didn't choose me, I really don't know what kind of opponent I would encounter. The crown princess looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. Haha, you won't say that later. Ling Xiao also smiled. From the start of the Battle of the Kings until now, he hadn't revealed his true strength. This crown princess seemed to be sure that she could defeat him. He really didn't know where her confidence came from. No, the outcome is already decided. The crown princess shook her head and said, There are only 2 aspects to your fighting style. One is your strong physical defense, and the other is your outstanding swordsmanship. These 2 aspects aren't a problem for me. In terms of defense, I'm stronger than you. In terms of swordsmanship, I'm also stronger than you. Ha 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 ha. It seems that you know me better than myself. Then let's not talk nonsense. Make your move. Let me see the crown princess fighting style. Ling Xiao couldn't help but laugh. In this world, there was actually someone who was so self-righteous that she thought she had seen through him. If this crown prince consort wasn't stupid, then she was overconfident. You won't be able to laugh later. The crown princess suddenly snorted. Her figure flickered, and a beautiful, jade-like long sword appeared in her hand. It was obvious that this sword wasn't ordinary. The first move of the jadeite sword technique. At that moment, the entire arena was covered by a green light. The terrifying sword essence was constantly emitted, making Ling Xiao feel a chill on his skin. Powerful indeed. If I purely rely on my defense, I really can't block this woman's swordsmanship. Interesting, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Chapter 1933. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Seeing the crown princess attack, he already had a plan to defeat this woman. A fight was not a head-on clash. He had a better way of fighting. Seeing the sword light coming, his figure suddenly disappeared from the arena. Why is this guy's movement technique so good too? Most of the audience below the stage did not know Ling Xiao at all. Before coming to the White Tiger meet, they had not even heard of Ling Xiao's name. Previously, when they saw Ling Xiao win 2 matches with his powerful defense and terrifying psychological tactics, they felt that that should be all that Ling Xiao had. They had never heard of anyone who could cultivate speed and defense to the extreme. That was also unrealistic. Now that they saw Ling Xiao's bizarre movement technique, they were truly each more surprised than the other. Clink! The sound of metal clashing came from the arena. Ling Xiao's figure reappeared and looked at the crown princess in surprise. I didn't expect that a woman like you actually cultivated the Emerald Jade Divine Technique. That's a very difficult, body-tempering martial art to cultivate. Just now, he used a swift movement technique to stab the crown princess, but it did not leave any trace of injury. This Emerald Jade Divine Technique's defense was truly terrifying. Although there was still a gap between it and the mystic world physique, the defense displayed by the crown princess actually did not lose to the mystic world physique at all because of her higher cultivation level. I said before that in terms of sword technique, you are inferior to me. In terms of defense, you are still inferior to me. But I forgot to say something. In terms of movement technique, you are also inferior to me. Then the crown princess raised her hand, and more than 10 pieces of sparkling jade actually appeared in the air. The jade flickered, illuminating the 2 people's shadows inside. It was very clear. In the next instant, the crown princess's figure disappeared. Clang! When she reappeared, her sword had already pierced Ling Xiao's chest. Fortunately, Ling Xiao's defense was strong enough that this sword did not penetrate his body. What a bizarre movement technique. Jade, phantom movement technique? Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi eye. Even if he had never seen a martial art before, he could still analyze it. The crown princess Jadeite sword technique, Jadeite divine technique, and Jadeite phantom movement technique were all extremely brilliant martial arts. No wonder he could become one of the 13 top geniuses of the White Tiger continent. His strength was not an exaggeration. He was truly powerful. Now, do you still think I can't kill you? The crown prince consort's shadow actually appeared in those pieces of jade at the same time. Their voices were completely synchronized. It was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Of course, the power of your sword is not bad, but it still can't break my defense. Ling Xiao said indifferently. From the beginning to the end, his expression was as calm as an ancient well. Even when he was surprised, his expression was still very indifferent, making it impossible for others to tell what he was thinking. Really? My emerald sword art has 13 moves, and each move is stronger than the last. How many times can you block it? The crown princess smiled coldly, and her figure suddenly disappeared again. Ding! Another sound of collision rang out. Ling Xiao was hit again. Rather than calling this Jadeite phantom movement technique a movement technique, it would be better to call it a terrifying secret technique. Staying here, I can't use my movement technique, but she can do it with ease. This is really depressing. Ling Xiao could feel that the power of the crown princess' second sword had increased by a lot. He could feel a slight pain on his body. If this continued, his defense would be broken in less than 4 or 5 moves, and it would be very difficult for him to attack his opponent because the crown princess did not reveal her real body. It was meaningless for him to attack an illusion. The crown princess is already in an invincible position. Ling Xiao's defeat is only a matter of time. Tianhai Tyranny said with a smile. It seemed that he did not need to do anything. Ling Xiao would not be able to escape today. Ling Xiao, if you have the guts, don't admit defeat. Otherwise, you don't deserve to be a man. Xiao Budian also said loudly. This was clearly a provocation. He did not want Ling Xiao to admit defeat, because once he admitted defeat, the crown princess would not have the chance to kill Ling Xiao. Admit defeat? I still want to kill you. If I admit defeat, how can I have the chance? Ling Xiao curled his lips and said, Clang! As he spoke, another sword pierced him, and a trace of blood appeared on his shoulder. His defense was broken. You're a stubborn duck. I hope you don't admit defeat. Xiao Budian sneered and watched the battle quietly. Emerald sword technique, fourth style. The crown princess attack came again. Ling Xiao's figure flashed, trying to dodge. However, just like before, no matter how he dodged, the crown princess sword always seemed to be waiting for him. No matter how fast he was, it was meaningless. Great. You killed my Zhengyi school's people. You deserve to be killed. The vice-founder of the Zhengyi school gritted his teeth and said, as a master, a powerhouse, although these words were not good, he really did not care. At this moment, he just wanted to see Ling Xiao killed. Nothing else mattered. How disappointing. I thought you were so arrogant and had some great ability. Xian Ming also sneered. Although he also wanted Ling Xiao to die, it would be really boring if he died too easily. Qi. The fourth sword directly cut off a piece of Ling Xiao's flesh, making Ling Xiao grimace in pain. The crown princess stopped attacking and looked at Ling Xiao mockingly. It's over. If you don't have any other skills, then you will be cut alive by my sword. Ling Xiao turned his head to look at the wound on his shoulder and could not help but laugh. It seems that you are really more difficult to deal with than the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong. I wanted to rely on my body movement to defeat you, but I didn't expect to be defeated by you. Interesting, very interesting. As he spoke, he actually clapped his hands. This caused everyone to be somewhat stunned. That guy isn't crazy, is he? How can he still laugh in such a situation? He probably knows that there is no hope, so he went crazy. There was a burst of discussion in the crowd. They all felt that there was something wrong with Ling Xiao. The crown princess also frowned and said, You are really good at provoking others. Then I would like to see how long you can hold on. Hold on. I don't need to hold on. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Didn't you notice? I didn't use the colored glazed treasure armor. Why? Don't tell me that you deliberately let me hurt you so that you can find my flaws? The crown princess mocked. Congratulations. You have learned how to guess the answer. It's a pity that you won't have the chance to guess in the future. As Ling Xiao spoke, a surge of sword essence was released. The sword essence enveloped the long sword in his hand as if it had pierced the sky. Do you still remember the move I used to almost kill Shangguan Qing'er? I will use it to bury you. A cold voice came from Ling Xiao's mouth. Behind him, the terrifying roar of a giant beast came from the dark sky. Chapter 1934. Heavy footsteps could be heard continuously. Every time he stepped on the ground, everyone's hearts would beat faster. No matter how strong the move is, it's meaningless if it can't hit the target. Although the crown princess was also shocked by the terrifying sword intent, she still maintained her calm and confidence. Haha, you still don't understand. I was stabbed by you not because you're strong, but because I need to know where your real body is. Don't you feel that there's something different about my eyes? Ling Xiao sneered. His Tai Chi eye released a strange light, which made the crown princess's face turn cold. Don't be afraid of him. He's going to use psychological tactics again. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean said loudly, You have the advantage. Yes, I have the advantage. The crown princess's gaze became even colder. Dozens of figures raised their emerald swords at the same time. I need psychological tactics to deal with Wulong. But against you, there's no need. The sword in Ling Xiao's hand changed from the divine light sword to the dark demon sword. A terrifying demonic aura enveloped the sky above Thunderclap City. Countless warriors trembled in fear. From the dark space behind him, a pair of scarlet eyes peeked out. It was as big as a star and as terrifying as the soul. "What is that?" Many people stood up and looked behind Ling Xiao in fear. A huge and terrifying beast stepped out and then merged with the terrifying sword intent of Ling Xiao's dark demon sword. Remember, this move is called Taotai Apocalypse. He brandished his sword, and the terrifying sword qi enveloped the entire arena. Roar! The roar of the beast sounded continuously. It was as if it wanted to devour the crown princess and her illusion. "I don't believe that your sword is stronger than mine." Jade Sword Style's 13 moves. Ultimate Profound, Mutual Destruction. The crown princess also went all out. In that instant, a tragic aura enveloped the entire stage. On the stage, the black and green lights began to collide and entangle. Everyone stared fixedly at the scene. They could no longer see the figures of the two people clearly. The only thing they could see was the sword qi and strange light that was constantly spewing out from the arena. He could also feel two completely different sword intents fighting in the air. After a long time, a bright golden light suddenly rose from the arena, and a strange giant door appeared in the sky, although it was only for a moment. But many people saw it. Then the battle in the arena finally ended. The green light was completely swallowed up by the black light. Only Ling Xiao's figure was left in the arena. The crown princess was nowhere to be found. "I didn't expect you to break through. I have to admit, you're really strong." Ling Xiao was also slightly surprised. The crown princess' final attack was extremely terrifying. It was precisely because of this that he was able to break through the 14th level of the Yin-Yang realm's bottleneck and successfully advance to the 15th level of the Yin-Yang realm. At this moment, his overall strength had already surpassed the crown princess, and the might of the Taotai Apocalypse had also suddenly increased. This made it easier for him to kill the other party. The breakthrough this time was really not easy. He had accumulated so many reincarnation seeds in the treasure hunt. Not only could these reincarnation seeds help them survive the reincarnation realm, but they could also help them break through at this stage. Then he fought with the God Palace's God Palace's God Palace. These were all prerequisites for his breakthrough. His efforts had finally paid off. Boom! A surge of anger rushed towards him. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean stared at Ling Xiao furiously. This Ling Xiao actually killed his woman. "You want to kill me?" "No, you've wanted to kill me for a long time, but you never had the chance." Ling Xiao glanced at Tyranny Heavenly Ocean and said, "After the crown princess' death, it will soon be your turn. Don't worry. She was the same as you. She originally had youth and a bright future. You could have become the most dazzling couple on the White Tiger continent. But you really shouldn't have provoked me. You really shouldn't have targeted me. From the moment you tried to kill me, you were destined for a tragic fate. This is called reaping what you sowed. This crown prince will definitely kill you. Definitely." Tyranny Heavenly Ocean glanced at Lawless and forcefully suppressed his anger. If he made a move without a match, not only would he be stopped by the referee, he would also be disqualified. He wouldn't do such a stupid thing. If he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, there was still a chance. He had to endure. "If it were me, I would definitely make a move now. It seems like that woman isn't much in your eyes." Ling Xiao glanced at Tyranny Heavenly Ocean with disdain. His own woman had been killed, yet he still cared about the rules. You could say that he was calm, but you could also say that he was cold-blooded, incomparably cold-blooded. Humph! Tyranny Heavenly Ocean snorted and closed his mouth. Cold-blooded or calm, these were the characteristics of a royal family. For a woman, he would not lose his cool and fight and kill. He would not do that. Ling Xiao smiled disdainfully and turned around to return to his seat. His body still looked somewhat weak, but it attracted almost everyone's attention. This guy was actually so strong. When he defeated the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, Everyone said that he had used despicable psychological tactics. But in this battle, Ling Xiao had openly killed the crown princess with a single strike, not giving the opponent any chance to retaliate. With this kind of strength, he was already among the top geniuses. Those familiar with Ling Xiao knew that when he came here, Ling Xiao hadn't been this strong. For him to become so terrifying now, it was definitely because he had benefited from the White Tiger Gathering. They had both participated in the White Tiger Gathering, and they had both improved. But Ling Xiao's improvement was truly greater than the average person's. This kid has surprised me again. They're both growing, but while others are strolling, he's running. This gap will only grow larger. Liquor Demon Sword shook his head and smiled bitterly. With Ling Xiao's speed of improvement, it wouldn't be long before even he would be left behind. The rebirth realm seemed to be unreachable and filled with danger. But for someone like Ling Xiao, was it really that difficult? At the very least, Liquor Demon's sword didn't think so. I believe that after this White Tiger Gathering ends, Ling Xiao will be unrivaled in the younger generation of the White Tiger continent. Aside from Tyranny Heavenly Ocean and Feng Fei, who might be on equal footing with him, no one else will be his match. Hong Qi nodded as well. The faster his grandson grew, the more at ease he would feel. Then does that mean you can start your plan? Hong Qi looked at Liquor Demon's sword and asked, Not yet. I've already discussed it with Ling Xiao. Once he's qualified to set foot on the Black Tortoise continent, the plan can be carried out. Liquor Demon's sword shook his head. Don't look at how Ling Xiao's limitless glory is in the White Tiger continent. With his current strength, he'll only be an ordinary person in the Black Tortoise continent. Chapter 1935. The Wine Demon's sword continued. That Black Tortoise temple is so powerful. To put it bluntly, it's just an outpost of the Black Tortoise continent's deep earth sect in the White Tiger continent. The profound world is like this. The closer one is to the heaven's chosen gate, the stronger the opponent will be. If you want to send troops to attack the White Tiger continent, you must first become the top martial artist on this continent. Ling Xiao isn't qualified yet. He's just a well-known figure among geniuses. But martial artists aren't just young geniuses. His true opponents are those backbone forces, those true experts. You're right. The Celestial Empire has just unified the Heavenly Dragon continent and the Divine Phoenix continent, so it still needs some time to recuperate. It's not appropriate to make a big move. It won't be too late to take action after Ling Xiao, Lun Mei, Dan Feng, and Long Qin have grown up. Hong Qi said with a smile. The profound world is very big. The White Tiger continent is only the third continent. His road is still long. The Wine Demon's sword looked at Ling Xiao, who was sitting on the seat, and thought of himself when he was young and frivolous. Back then, he went to the Black Tortoise continent to find Ji Lingyue. In the end, he left excitedly and returned in disappointment. He who couldn't even step out of the Black Tortoise continent wanted to save Ji Lingyue. It was simply a joke. Who took Ji Lingyue away? Hong Qi suddenly asked. Hearing this question, the Wine Demon's sword's expression suddenly changed. He lowered his voice and whispered in Hong Qi's ear. What? It's actually them. But why did they take Ji Lingyue away? Hong Qi was also incomparably shocked. I don't know the specific reason, but with my current strength, not to mention saving Ji Lingyue, it's impossible to even reach there. The Wine Demon's sword sighed helplessly. Then he looked at Ling Xiao and said, Only he can save his sister. I believe that he can do what I can't do. So even if I have to risk my life, I have to ensure his safety. After the first battle ended, Cold Plum stepped onto the stage. Ling Xiao's advice to her was to choose a weaker opponent as much as possible. That way, it would be easier to win. This was because Ling Xiao believed that after this round of battles, the Black Tortoise Temple would make new arrangements. Although he did not know the specifics, it would definitely be very beneficial to the advancement of martial artists. Who should he choose? Cold Plum pointed at Scarlet Moon. This was Ling Xiao's idea. Although Hong Yue was one of them, she was undoubtedly the weakest of the 17. If Cold Plum didn't choose, someone else would. Hong Yue would definitely be eliminated, or even killed. If Cold Plum had to choose, the two of them would fight fair and square. No matter who won or lost, no one would die in the end. Of course, Ling Xiao had told Hong Yu about this choice in advance. Therefore, Hong Yu was not surprised. She jumped onto the stage and stood opposite Cold Plum with a grin. Then she said, "Sister Cold Plum, to make the following battle smoother, why don't we decide the winner with one move?" Of course, she would not surrender. Cold Plum's current cultivation was very unstable because she was not familiar with the power of the black feathers that she inherited. One moment, she displayed the terrifying strength of the 18th level of the Yin Yang realm, and the next moment, she displayed the strength of the 14th level of the Yin Yang realm. Her cultivation was very stable at the 16th level of the Yin Yang realm. Therefore, she might not lose the battle. Moreover, Ling Xiao did not ask her to surrender, so she felt that there was no need for that. If her big brother Ling Xiao asked her to surrender to Cold Plum, she would definitely agree. "Sister Hong Yu, be careful!" Cold Plum showed a rare gentleness. However, she did not intend to go easy on Hong Yu. She suddenly took a step forward and turned into several afterimages. Black feathers floated down from the sky. Every feather was filled with a sharp battle intent. It made people shudder. "Sister, you have to be careful too." Hong Yu took a step back. Then scarlet flames enveloped her body, and a fire dragon enveloped her entire body. In that instant, the entire space was filled with blazing energy. It was as if the stage was about to melt. Descent of the fire dragon battle. Huff, huff. Terrifying flames were spat out from the fire dragon's mouth and quickly spread across the entire stage. The spectators even subconsciously dodged as if they were afraid of being burned by the flames. Cold Plum's figure flew around the stage. No one could tell which one was real. However, a large number of afterimages were burned by the flames and instantly turned into nothingness. They completely disappeared. This little girl's combat strength is not weak. Looks like everyone has underestimated her. As long as she accumulates enough experience, she and Blue Snow will definitely become the strongest in the new generation of the White Tiger mainland. Ling Xiao could not help but feel a little emotional. Both Blue Snow and Hong Yu were only 12 years old, 5 years younger than him. They were definitely outstanding talents of the new generation. Even if they were eliminated from this year's White Tiger meet, the two of them would still be on the same level as Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny next year. Hong Yu's weakness lay in her experience. Cold Plum's overall strength might not be much stronger than hers, but she was always able to avoid the flames with every dash. No matter how fierce the flames were, they were unable to burn her real body. Instead, more and more black feathers appeared in the air. Streaks of light formed a terrifying vortex of sword chi, pushing the crimson flames to the side and then rushing towards the red moon. Cold Plum's skills are still a level higher. Ling Xiao smiled. Her rich combat experience allowed Cold Plum to gain the upper hand in the nick of time. The terrifying sword chi vortex slammed into Hong Yu's body. Hong Yu's body was knocked backwards. Her small face was red, but her expression was stubborn. In the end, the sword chi vortex dissipated completely. Hong Yu's small hands trembled uncontrollably, already covered in scars. A draw. Sun Lung Chan glanced at Ling Xiao, as if waiting for Ling Xiao to speak. But then Hong Yu suddenly broke into a smile. Cold Plum's big sister is really strong. I lost. Others might not know, but Hong Yu was very clear. If this had been a fight to the death, Cold Plum's black feathers would have pierced her heart by now. You're not bad yourself. Lung Mei spat out a mouthful of turbid air. To be honest, this battle was not easy. If the opponent was not a friend, but someone else, then the battle would have taken a long time. Even if he won, he would have consumed a lot of energy. That was naturally not something he wanted to see. Even Hong Yu, who was considered the weakest, was so strong. This quickly raised the crowd's interest. The following battles would only get more and more exciting. He couldn't miss any battle. Otherwise, he would really regret it. Cold Plum and Hong Yu walked to Ling Xiao at the same time. Ling Xiao handed Hong Yu a pill and said, "You've worked hard, little girl. But if you admit defeat like this, will the people of Jingyi School let you go? They won't let me fight to the death. I'm just a child," Hong Yu said with a smile. Chapter 1936. Actually, Hong Yu didn't need to worry at all. With her talents, the Jingyi School would definitely train her to be the second Feng Fei. How could the Jingyi School bear to punish her? If they didn't treat her well, wouldn't that push her towards Ling Xiao's side? "Little girl, you're really smart." Ling Xiao gently stroked Hong Yu's head. By the end of the battle, both Hong Yu and Blue Snow had been eliminated. Still, the results of the two girls shocked countless spectators. Two 12-year-old girls had fought their way from the first round of the Blood Purgatory battle to the final battle of the kings. That in itself was a great honor. Cold Plum began to rest, while Ling Xiao looked towards the stage. Feng Fei's third match drew cheers from the crowd. Because Feng Fei would have to choose either Mu Wanchuang or one of the 13 top geniuses. This was the kind of showdown everyone wanted to see. She definitely won't choose Mu Wanchuang. Her woman's intuition tells her that Mu Wanchuang isn't simple. Ling Xiao suddenly said, but no one believed him. Even Ling Xiao's friends found his words baffling. Could it be that Mu Wanchuang was stronger than the 13 top geniuses? But in the next instant, Ling Xiao's words were confirmed. Feng Fei chose Lei Tun. The 13 top geniuses were just like the 4 heroes of Tianhai. But there was still a huge gap between their strengths. Feng Fei only used 3 moves to deal with Lei Tun. The first move broke Lei Tun's defense. The second broke through Lei Tun's protective elemental energy. The third knocked Lei Tun out of the stage. Of course, Feng Fei was more particular with his moves. He didn't kill Lei Tun. After all, he didn't have any deep enmity with the White Tiger Empire. It was enough to defeat him. Another top genius has been eliminated. This is too unexpected. It wasn't just the spectators who thought this. Even the judges felt that this wasn't a good idea, especially the Black Tortoise Temple. They'd been eyeing the 13 top geniuses for a long time and had given them plenty of cultivation resources in hopes of recruiting them. Let's not talk about the 3 who were killed. They didn't want any of the remaining people to be eliminated. Sect leader, can we change the rules of the revival round? Lawless turned around to look at Xianming and asked, now that the 9th Heaven Palace has appeared, our Black Tortoise Temple is in need of people. Plus, that Ling Xiao won't listen to us. Why don't we give the chance to comprehend the magic cube temple to others? What do you think? You decide for yourself, but you have to think of a reasonable reason. Don't let the world laugh at our Black Tortoise Temple for not keeping our word. Xianming said faintly. He also felt that Lawless's words made sense. Now that he was in need of people, he needed geniuses who were more obedient. Understood. Lawless told the rest of the judges about his plan, and they all agreed with him. This was because the revival round was also beneficial to the other referees' factions. Then it settled. While Lawless was talking, the 4th match had already ended. Tianhai Tyranny chose Qingqiu Lihua as his opponent and defeated him in 3 moves as well. It was as if he wanted to compete with Feng Fei and show off his terrifying strength. In the 5th match, the cautious Lei Lai no longer had the qualifications to be cautious. Thus, he exploded with his true strength and defeated Fairy Qingqiu in 3 moves as well. Now, 2 of the Silver Fox Empire's top geniuses had been eliminated at the same time. These 3 are too terrifying. I bet the top 3 of the White Tiger meet will be one of them. After watching this match, the audience felt that Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, and Lei Lai were a level above the rest. These 3 people were truly terrifying. It seemed that no matter who encountered them, it would be impossible for them to win. Sixth match, Sun Lingchan. She did have the right to choose, but the problem was that none of the people she could choose were easy to bully. If she couldn't choose the top 8, then she only had 4 opponents left. Xiao Budian, Sir Heavenly Wolf, the Silver Wolf Princess, and Mu Wanchuang. None of them were easy to provoke. Sun Lingchan stood on the stage with furrowed brows. This was going to be troublesome. Who should she choose? Sun Lingchan suddenly looked towards Ling Xiao. She trusted Ling Xiao's judgment. If you want to win, the Silver Wolf Princess has the best chance. But it's not a guaranteed win. If you have other ideas, then choose yourself. The other 3 are about the same. Ling Xiao could only give Sun Lingchan this hint. After all, the Silver Wolf Princess was the only one who was slightly weaker than the other. Forget it. I'll leave the Silver Wolf Princess to Long Qin. I choose Mu Wanchuang. Sun Lingchan had her reasons for choosing Mu Wanchuang. As one of the Tianhai 4 greats, she had always wanted to prove that she was stronger than Mu Wanchuang, just like how Mu Wanchuang wanted to prove herself. Since the white tiger meat had given her this chance, she was going to try it out. As expected of your choice. Although it's the worst choice, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Since you've chosen, then fight bravely. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. The key is to fight your own style. Ling Xiao wouldn't pour cold water on Sun Lingchan. Since she'd already made her choice, he'd support her. Moreover, he'd already given the colored glass armor to Sun Lingchan. Even if Mu Wanchuang had some special ability to defeat Sun Lingchan, it wouldn't be enough to kill her. Even so, Ling Xiao still furrowed his brows in worry. Mu Wanchuang gave him a sense of danger that was even more terrifying than Feng Fei, Tianhai tyranny, or Lei Lai. But why? If this woman was really so strong, she had no need to be Fan Ruohai's servant girl. Could it be that Fan Ruohai was even more terrifying than her? Or was she just using Fan Ruohai? He couldn't figure it out. Ling Xiao felt his head hurt, but he still couldn't figure out the crux of the matter. Just what was the reason for him to be so wary of Mu Wanchuang? But he trusted that his instincts wouldn't be wrong. On the stage, Mu Wanchuang glanced at Sun Lingchan and said, "You can go down. For Ling Xiao's sake, I won't make you look too bad. We'll still be the best sisters of Tianhai's 4 greats. You know that's impossible." How could Sun Lingchan admit defeat without a fight? Her pride wouldn't allow her to do so. Whoosh! In an instant, Mu Wanchuang was less than 3 inches from Sun Lingchan. The moment he agreed, Sun Lingchan's eyes were filled with disbelief. Uft! She spat out a mouthful of blood. "I've lost." Sun Lingchan hadn't made a move, but she'd really lost. Mu Wanchuang hadn't attacked either, only approached her. This was even stranger than when Cold Plum had killed her. Chapter 1937. Everyone was stunned. This scene was too bizarre. Many people still didn't understand what was going on. Why did Sun Lingchan suddenly spit out blood? Was she injured to begin with? Only Heavenly Sea's tyranny laughed coldly and muttered to himself. So it was like that! No one knew what he meant by that, but he must have seen something. Ling Xiao also said so it was like that. No one knew what he was talking about. He didn't seem to want to explain either. But Sun Lingchan lost just like that. She lost completely. She returned to her seat and revealed a bitter smile with a pale face. "I finally understand why you said she was scary. She really is. Perhaps even Feng Fei and Heavenly Sea's tyranny aren't her match." I know." Ling Xiao nodded lightly. "You don't seem surprised at all?" "Because I already knew she wasn't weak." Ling Xiao smiled. "All right, Ling Chan. Hurry up and recover. There should be a revival match soon. You need to prepare yourself for it. There's only one spot for the revival match, right?" "Hee, I'll tell you the truth. I saw that Lawless and Xianming's conversation. There definitely won't be only one spot for the revival match." Ling Xiao grinned. "I believe you. After the incident with Mu Wanchuang, Sun Lingchan was completely convinced of Ling Xiao's abilities. Although she didn't know how Ling Xiao had found out, as long as Ling Xiao said it, it couldn't be wrong. She began to hurry up and recover. On the stage, Long Chun finally came out. "I'm sorry, Silver Wolf Princess. Sister Lingchan gave you to me. I can't let her down." Long Chin chose the Silver Wolf Princess. Of the remaining three, the Silver Wolf Princess was the weakest. She was also the one he had the highest chance of defeating. He definitely wasn't a match for the little guy and the Heavenly Wolf Prince. Long Chin was also very confident. However, he was the same as Ling Xiao. He would not be so arrogant that he would forget himself. After all, this kid was groomed by Ling Xiao. This Long Chin should be the strongest martial artist in the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. I wonder if he'll be able to match Ling Xiao's strength. Even now, people still felt that Long Chin was the strongest martial artist in the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. After all, this kid was a true dragon. His battle prowess wasn't weak, and his cultivation base was stronger than Ling Xiao. The Silver Wolf Princess is the weakest of the remaining three. But no matter what, she's still one of the 13 top geniuses. She's one of the 2 strongest geniuses in the Yulang Empire. That's right. This battle is also a battle between the strong. The scene will definitely be very exciting. Everyone was looking forward to it. Was it the counterattack of a minor character from the Celestial Empire? Or was it the suppression of the princess of the Great Moon Empire? You will regret choosing me. The Silver Wolf Princess was also arrogant. How could she be in a good mood when people thought she was the weakest of the remaining three? The moment she stood up, she looked at Long Chen coldly and said, "I'm sorry. Although I don't like the little guy the most among the three of you, I have no choice. You should be weaker than the little guy. If I want to win, I can only choose you." Long Chen sighed. That was the truth. You will pay for what you've said. The Silver Wolf Princess took a step forward, and her figure flashed into the arena. A terrifying and sharp aura pounced on Long Chen. She was one of the top 13 geniuses, but she was always overshadowed by the Heavenly Wolf Prince. When people talked about the two of them, they always felt that she could be ranked as one of the top geniuses because of the Heavenly Wolf Prince. How could she be convinced? If you want to prove that I was wrong, then prove it with your strength. Long Chen's aura was released from his body. A terrifying dragon aura enveloped the entire arena. At this moment, he was the main character of the arena. His ancestors were once the main characters of the mystic world. They had ruled the mystic world for much longer than the humans. You'll definitely see it. The Silver Wolf Princess sneered. Her eyes suddenly turned into a bright silver color, revealing a seductive and strange look. Silver wolf eyes. These were the unique eyes of the Silver Wolf clan of the Yulang Empire. Although they were not as good as Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eyes, they had their own uniqueness. Kill! A crisp and clear voice came from the Silver Wolf Princess' mouth. She waved her claws in the air. In the sky, it turned into a huge silver wolf claw, wanting to slap Long Chin to death in the arena. Is the dragon stronger or the wolf stronger? We'll see the result in this battle. Everyone stared at the arena. They were excited to see a very special battle. The Dragon Clan was a legendary clan. The Wolf Clan of the Yulang Empire was a fighting clan that stood out from countless other clans. They had an innate fighting advantage. It was hard to say who was stronger. Humph. Long Chin snorted coldly. Then he took a step forward and waved his right hand like a claw. Dragon Claw! A dragon's roar rang out, shaking heaven and earth. The terrifying Dragon Claw rushed to the sky in an attempt to stop the Wolf Claw. At this moment, Long Chen's entire body was wrapped in a vigorous dragon aura. His short hair stood up and his clothes puffed up. It was as if a giant dragon was standing there, giving people an incomparably strong shock. As a result, many martial artists in the audience began to tremble. Warriors with weak willpower even knelt on the ground. Boom! The wolf claw fell and was hit by the dragon claw. Then the wolf claw was blocked by the dragon claw in the sky, unable to move any further. The terrifying dragon aura from the dragon claw seemed to come from the ancient mystic world. Long Chen was not just a warrior now. He had become the symbol of the entire dragon clan. The former overlord of the mystic world was now challenging the humans. Break! Crack! The terrifying dragon claw crushed the wolf claw. Long Chen's body was no longer human. He was half human and half dragon. He had entered the dragon transformation state. This was the first time he had chosen to dragon transformation since the start of the White Tiger meet. After all, he did not dare to be careless when facing the Silver Wolf Princess, one of the 13 top geniuses. The terrifying dragon aura formed the image of a huge golden dragon in the sky, overlooking the earth. This kid is so strong. He's really from the Dragon Clan. He should be the strongest person in the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. Yeah, although Ling Xiao killed Wulong and the Crown Princess, he didn't show such a domineering scene. Most people stared at the scene with their mouths agape. They were unfamiliar with the terrifying dragon aura that wrapped around Long Chen's body, but they admired it. They felt that this aura was the strongest energy in the world, making them envious. Chapter 1938. The Silver Wolf Princess took a few steps back and looked at her silver wolf claw that had been completely crushed. She was shocked and furious. Was the Dragon Clan really that terrifying? Were they even more powerful than the Wolf Clan? Complete dragonization. Long Chen roared and transformed into a small golden dragon the size of a human. He was still half human and half dragon, but his appearance was complete dragonization. He had not entered the final stage and returned to his original form. If Long Chen returned to his original form, the scene would probably be even more shocking. However, even now, the vast and mighty draconic aura had become even more powerful. The terrifying aura continued to attack the Silver Wolf Princess, causing her face to turn pale. Wolves could not do anything in front of the dragon. In ancient times, the Wolf Clan was just food that the Dragon Clan hunted casually. Roar of the Golden Dragon! Long Chen suddenly opened his mouth, and a golden dragon extinguished shot out. It became even more powerful in the air. This golden dragon's extinction almost destroyed the entire arena, dyeing it a golden color. The warriors near the ring could not help but avoid it. Silver Wolf transformation, break it! At the critical moment, the Silver Wolf Princess activated the bloodline of the Wolf Clan in her body and transformed into a huge silver wolf. The silver wolf was 7 to 8 meters tall and stood on the ring. It opened its mouth and breathed out a breath that caused the entire ring to become extremely cold. The originally blazing dragon, Extinguish, seemed to be frozen by the breath. The golden ring instantly turned silver white. Silver Wolf Princess, you really live up to your reputation. It seems that I really can't defeat you without using my final trump card. The moment the silver white, cold breath approached Long Chen, his body suddenly became huge. A golden dragon appeared on the ring. The huge silver wolf was like a child in front of it. It's over, Silver Wolf Princess. You're really amazing to be able to make me use my original form. Long Chen's cold voice came from the mouth of the golden dragon. Then the huge claw slammed down and the entire ground shook. First, the frozen white mist disappeared. Then, even the huge silver wolf was shaken to the point of dizziness. Immediately after, the golden dragon swung its tail, and the Silver Wolf Princess was thrown out of the ring. There is no enmity between us. I won't kill you. Long Chen and Ling Xiao were the same. They didn't like to make enemies for no reason. Unless someone wanted them dead, they would rather show mercy. Thanks a lot. The Heavenly Wolf Prince glanced at the Silver Wolf Princess. She knew that if Long Chen used his claws, the Silver Wolf Princess would be turned into meat paste. At the last moment, he used his tail to pull the Silver Wolf Princess out of the arena. He was really grateful for this. No need. Long Qin left the arena in a carefree manner. He had already transformed into his human form. Damn, that was close. This woman is not to be trifled with. He walked to Ling Zhao's side. Although his face was filled with joy, there was also a hint of relief. She is indeed not to be trifled with. Fortunately, it is daytime now. If it was nighttime with the moon, you would definitely lose. Ling Zhao didn't mind pouring a bucket of cold water on Long Qin. He didn't want Long Qin to become arrogant just because he won this battle. That would be detrimental to Long Qin's future development. Big brother, don't worry. I won't be arrogant. Long Qin smiled. It's good that you're not arrogant. There is only one last battle left. I wonder who Zue Linglong will choose. Will it be Xiao Budian or the Heavenly Wolf Prince? If she chooses one of them, then the other person will have a bye. That's not bad. Just as he was thinking, a voice suddenly came from the arena. Ling Xiao, who do you want me to help you eliminate? It was Zue Linglong's voice. When everyone heard this voice, they couldn't help but be stunned. This wasn't the first time Zue Linglong helped Ling Xiao. Why? Many people were puzzled. Could it be that Zue Linglong also fell in love with Ling Xiao at first sight? Impossible. Zue Linglong was blind. She couldn't see anyone, not to mention the others. Even Ling Xiao was baffled. He didn't know Zue Linglong, but she seemed to take care of him. It wasn't the kind of care between a man and a woman. It was more like she was entrusted by someone. But who could it be? There are only two people left. I have no enmity with the Heavenly Wolf Prince. Ling Xiao didn't say it out loud, but it was clear enough. All right, then I will challenge Xiao Budian. Zue Linglong looked at Xiao Budian and said softly, Zue Linglong, you could have easily advanced, but unfortunately, you chose the one you shouldn't have. There were only two people left, and neither of them wanted to be chosen. It wasn't that they wanted a bye, but if they were chosen, it would be too embarrassing. It would mean that they were weaker than the other person. For these experts, sometimes their face was more important than their lives. Therefore, no one wanted to be chosen. Just try. Zue Linglong said softly, I'm afraid this attempt will make you die a horrible death. Xiao Budian suddenly jumped onto the arena, not giving Zue Linglong any time to react. He punched out with both his fists, and the sky was torn apart by his fists. A huge meteorite fell from the sky, the Boulder King's inheritance. Lawless raised his eyebrows. As the main judge of the White Tiger meet, he could naturally see it. What Xiao Budian was using was the Boulder King's signature move, the Meteor Divine Fist. Although its power was not as strong as the Boulder King's, based on its appearance, it was already 90% of the Boulder King's power. Zue Linglong just watched calmly, not making a move. However, a strange energy rushed out from her body. It wasn't her internal force, but more like her soul force. The energy rushed up to the sky and lifted the huge meteorite, preventing it from falling. Whoa! The zither in Zue Linglong's hand sounded, and a musical note broke through the sky. The zither was a treasure from the 10,000 Devil Graveyard, and it was quite powerful. Although Zue Linglong couldn't use its full power, it was definitely better than the weapons she used before. The musical note flew up, and with a boom, it smashed the huge meteorite into pieces. Xiao Budian frowned. He then pointed out with his finger. It was a dazzling green light. It was as sharp as sword qi, but it was sharper than any sword qi. The Qing Mang King's inheritance. How much inheritance did this guy get? Lawless looked at Xiao Budian and frowned. Puff! However, when the green sword qi collided with the musical note in front of Zue Linglong, it was still defeated. Battle Dragon Qi. Xiao Budian roared, and a dragon's roar came out of his mouth. His fists turned into two battle dragons, pouncing towards Zue Linglong, the Battle Dragon King's inheritance. The third one. Everyone was watching Xiao Budian's act, and he kept using the inheritance memories that others struggled to get. Chapter 1939. although Xiao Budian kept attacking with all sorts of memories. The sound of Zui Linglong's zither grew more urgent and louder. Dense musical notes flew out continuously and actually tore the two battle dragons into pieces. Strong, but I'd like to see how long you can last. 1,000 feet, 1,000 shadow fists. Behind Xiao Budian, countless arms and fists appeared and blasted out at the same time. Fist shadows flashed, densely packed, continuously shattering the musical notes. Divine Lord Qinzu's inheritance. That's the fourth one. No wonder this brat was so confident in defeating Zui Linglong. But Zui Linglong remained calm in the face of such attacks. Her hands flew up and down the zither strings so fast that only afterimages could be seen. More and more musical notes were released. The air was filled with the sounds of explosions. What else do you have? Show me everything. Zui Linglong's voice rang out again. Her body released an even stronger aura. Following that, all sorts of sounds that could only be heard in nature appeared on the stage. And they all appeared at the same time. Musical notes. Since ancient times, when Imperial Heaven Empress Earth was born, they existed. Zui Linglong's hands slowed down as she spoke. Every time her fingers moved, there would be a special sound that would fly out and transform into a terrifying power that would shatter the little guy's fist shadows. The sound of a gurgling stream, the crisp chirping of birds, the roars of beasts, the cries of infants, the earth-shattering roars of anger, all sorts of sounds intertwined and surrounded Xiao Budian. The countless fists were instantly disintegrated. What? Xiao Budian looked at Zui Linglong in shock. He thought Feng Fei was the strongest in Jingyi school, but Zui Linglong, who was rank 3rd, was even stranger. Against this woman, he used 4 types of inherited attacks, but all of them were broken. Black Wind Fury. Finally, Xiao Budian released the 5th type of inherited memory. The terrifying black wind turned into a raging tornado that rushed towards Zui Linglong. The Black Wind King's inherited memory, the 5th type. This brat must have used some special method, or else he wouldn't have been able to get all these inherited memories at the same time. Moreover, he seems to be able to mix them all together and make full use of them. Lawless couldn't help but exclaim, "Genius! This is definitely a peerless genius." His opponent, Zui Linglong, is also a genius. Otherwise, she would not have been able to block Xiao Budian's attack. The black wind whistled, blowing away all kinds of musical notes, as if it wanted to attack the weakest point of drunken Linglong's defense. Unity of heaven and man, sound for me to use. Suppress everything. Subdue everything. Zui Linglong seemed to be singing. Each of her words turned into a musical note that blended into the natural notes of heaven and earth. It turned into a woman wearing a rainbow-colored dress. This was not a martial soul, but a manifestation of musical notes. At this moment, the howling black wind was completely defeated by the musical notes. Xiao Budian could not help but retreat 4 or 5 steps, his face gloomy to the extreme. How can this woman be so strong? What's more, she doesn't seem to be using internal energy but soul force. She's really hard to deal with. The little guy retreated while thinking about the battle situation. After some thought, he felt that the only way to end this battle was to release his martial soul. Kill! He suddenly roared, and an evil light appeared behind him. All right, let's stop here. Suddenly, Lawless flew into the ring and said calmly, "You two are considered to be tied. You can both advance to the next round." Tied? Lawless's words made the little guy a little angry. I can beat her. Do you really think so? Don't forget, you were forced to use your martial soul, and she still hasn't shown her martial soul or bloodline power. Can you really win? Lawless said coldly. Of course I can. Referee, do you think everyone's martial soul is the same? The little guy said coldly, I didn't want to use my martial soul because I didn't want to expose my identity. Once I release my martial soul, she won't stand a chance. All right, maybe what you said makes sense, but there's no need to continue. If you really want to fight her again, you still have a chance in the last ranking battle. Lawless did not argue with Xiao Budian because Xiao Budian's words made sense. Some martial artists relied on their martial spirits, so their martial spirits were stronger than other martial artists. On the contrary, when they didn't release their martial soul, their fighting power was weaker. The little guy actually had not shown his true strength yet. What he showed was all the things he got from the Purgatory Blood Battle. This guy was not to be underestimated. Mu Wanchuang, the little guy, Zue Linglong, and the other martial artists who had advanced before, none of them were easy to deal with. This year's geniuses were really hard to choose. Lawless sighed. Fortunately, he had suggested to Xian Ming about the revival round. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of people who would have left the competition with regrets. Zue Linglong, I'll let you know my true strength in the ranking battle. The little guy looked at Zue Linglong coldly, turned around, and left the ring. I'll be waiting, Zue Linglong replied faintly, as if the little guy's threat was nothing to her. After she finished speaking, she also retreated. At this point, the 8 battles had ended, but the crowd was still not satisfied. Regardless of Mu Wanchuang's strange strength, or Long Chen's overbearing body, or Zue Linglong's heaven and earth musical notes, the little guy's 5 types of inherited memories made the crowd excited. In addition to those who had already advanced, this final ranking battle would really be very exciting, because in the ranking battle, everyone would inevitably have to fight with others. No one could avoid it. At that time, it would be obvious who was the strongest. The 3rd round of battles has ended. A total of 10 people have advanced to the final round. Here, I'd like to announce a revival battle. The rules of the revival battle are very simple. It's the same as the ranking battle. All the martial artists who were eliminated in the Battle of the Kings can participate. After all, some people have encountered opponents that are too strong, so it's not fair for them. We will choose 10 people from these eliminated people to take the Rubik's Cube trial together. Of course, the martial artists who advanced through the revival battle will receive a lower-level Rubik's Cube trial, and the 10 people who advance through each round will receive the best Rubik's Cube trial. So the opportunity is given to you. Whether you can seize it or not depends on whether you have the ability. When Lawless's words came out, it immediately caused a flurry of discussion below the ring. Some said it was inappropriate, others said it was fair. But no matter what, since Lawless had already said it, it didn't matter if the others objected or not. Chapter 1940. The revival round started as scheduled. All the warriors who had been eliminated in the Battle of the Kings participated. In the end, 10 people were chosen. Silver Wolf Princess, Green Hill Fairy, Green Hill Li Hua, Lei Tun, Sun Lingchan, Dan Feng, Jun Maching, Jun Macho, Hongyu Blue Snow. Exactly 10 people. These 10 people would also get a chance to increase their strength, which was the Rubik's Cube trial. However, it was not as good as the other 10. For them, it was better than nothing. This was also an opportunity. Warriors who advanced through the revival round, our god envoys will take you to the Rubik's Cube trial for 10 days. Whether you can turn from a cocoon into a butterfly will depend on your luck. Lawless nodded at one of the god envoys. That person immediately took away the 10 warriors who had advanced through the revival round. The remaining 10 follow me. You will also undergo the Rubik's Cube trial for 10 days. Hold the Rubik's Cube medal in your hands well. That will be the key to your benefits. After 10 days, there will be a day of rest. After that, it will be the final ranking battle. The top 20 will be the number of disciples that Black Tortoise Temple will accept this time. Lawless had made it very clear that the revival round was set up to increase the number of disciples that Black Tortoise Temple could recruit. After all, some of the people who were eliminated still gave people a good impression. It would be a pity if they were eliminated just like that. 10 days. The audience was a little unhappy. They had come here to watch the battle, but they had to wait for 10 days out of boredom. It was too boring. However, the participating warriors did not have any complaints. They had participated in the White Tiger meet not for the fame, but for the benefits. Since there was a chance to get benefits, let alone 10 days, even if it was a few months or even a year, so what? However, there were some who were worried. For example, Ling Xiao. If he left for 10 days, Feng Minglian, Jiluoyu Mou, Zhu Xiaocong and Lu Lian would have to stay. It would be very dangerous. Sect Master Xianming, we seem to have an unfinished agreement. Ling Xiao suddenly looked at Xianming and said, "What agreement?" Xianming frowned. "In the previous battle, I made a bet with Lawless. If he lost, I could make a request to the temple. You seem to have sent someone to supervise, right?" Ling Xiao wasn't afraid that Xianming wouldn't admit it. There were so many people here. Unless Xianming was shameless, he wouldn't let the world laugh at him because of a small bet. After all, the higher one's status and the stronger one was, the more they cared about their face. That's right. Now state your conditions. I remember that I also said that you can't harm the interests of the Divine Hall. Xianming said indifferently, "Of course, I only hope that my friends and comrades can receive the protection of the Black Tortoise Divine Palace during the White Tiger meet." Ling Xiao said to Xianming, "You really have the guts to mention it." Xianming sneered, "The grudge between you and me is so deep. Aren't you afraid that I will break my promise?" Sect Master Xianming is a rebirth state expert. If you go back on your words because of such a small matter, then I, Ling Xiao, will admit that I'm unlucky. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He was sure that Xianming wouldn't go back on his words. Xianming knew what was more important and what was more important. "Ha! Don't worry. I will protect your people well. However, it's best that nothing happens to my people. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave here alive." Xianming suddenly laughed. "Of course." Ling Xiao nodded and said, "Of course." He was very clear that Xianfeng was the trump card in his hand. It was a trump card that could make the profound underworld sect master hesitate to attack. "It's good that you understand. Today's Battle of the Kings will take a break. It will continue in 10 days. After saying that, Xianming broke through the sky and left. Lawless looked at the remaining 10 people and said, "All right, you guys follow me to the Divine Hall." After saying that, he opened a teleportation formation in the sky. The teleportation formation should be opened by the alchemy formation stone. Ling Xiao could feel the energy within it. Senior Jiu Mo, Sword, Grandfather, and everyone else. "See you in 10 days. Ling Xiao turned around and said to his friends, "You just take care of yourself." Jiu Mo Sword was actually a little worried. Ling Xiao had offended Xianming. Even though Xianming couldn't deal with him openly, it was still possible for him to make things difficult for him. "Yes, Senior. I know how to protect myself." Ling Xiao nodded. He naturally understood Jiu Mo Sword's worry. However, it wasn't his style to stop here. He followed the others into the teleportation formation and soon arrived at a place surrounded by clouds. It was like a fairyland. "Big brother, what do you think this Rubik's Cube trial is?" Long Chin stood beside Ling Xiao and was a little excited. "Since it's a trial, we naturally have to pass some tests. After passing the test, we can get some benefits. No matter what it is, it will definitely help increase the strength of the martial artist." Ling Xiao analyzed. "It's just that you guys have to be careful. I've offended Xianming. I don't know what methods he will use to deal with us. Actually, I think you're overthinking it. Xianming might deal with you, but he probably won't do anything to us. With his personality, he must think that as long as he takes care of you, we'll be obedient." Cold Plum thought for a while and said, "That makes sense. However, we still have to be careful. After all, this is someone else's territory. We can't be careless. Any analysis was just an analysis. No one could make a flawless plan. Therefore, the best way to protect oneself was to be careful. This way, they could deal with any unforeseen events in time." "You ants, what's the point of discussing so much? No matter what you obtain, only death awaits you. Don't tell me you still don't understand? After losing the crown princess, Tianhai tyrannical ambition was completely alone. However, his domineering aura was even stronger than before. It was as if the death of the crown princess had made him stronger. It's still not certain who will live and who will die. Ling Xiao glanced at Tianhai tyrannical ambition and said, "Before the crown princess fought with me, she probably didn't expect to be killed by me. You're the same. Then let's wait and see." Tianhai tyrannical ambition laughed coldly and sped up to chase. It was easy to get lost in the mist, and with lawless speed, they couldn't afford to stray too far from him. "Let's catch up too," Ling Xiao called out. The people beside him also sped up. After a while, Lawless suddenly stopped and turned around to look at everyone. This is one of the 13 black tortoise temples, magic cube temple. It's a place specially provided for black tortoise temple's warriors to cultivate and comprehend. The 10 of you entered the last round of the Battle of the Kings, so you've also obtained this qualification. Magic cube temple? What temple is there ahead? Long Qin asked in surprise. Chapter 1941. Where is the temple? Long Qin was very confused. Not only him, but the others were also very confused. In front of them, there was only a colorful light that was constantly being released, but there was no trace of the temple. Lawless smiled but didn't answer. Instead, he channeled some of his yuan force into the light. Then, the colorful light suddenly stopped being released, and a huge Rubik's Cube appeared in front of everyone's eyes. There were countless windows and doors on the Rubik's Cube. Before reaching the Rubik's Cube, there was a gatehouse. There was a strange, psychedelic color in the gatehouse, which made people feel very strange and mysterious. Is this the Rubik's Cube Temple? How can there be such a magical building in this world? Everyone was very surprised and curious. Even Ling Xiao had never seen such a building before. He had only seen it in books. It should be a special mechanism that could only be built by the top mechanism master of the Shinji continent. Every door of the Rubik's Cube Temple leads to a special space. The 10 of you will enter 10 different doors. As for what kind of test you will encounter, it will be decided by the Rubik's Cube in your hands. As I said before, the treasure hunt is very important. The Rubik's Cube will also determine the benefits you will get in the Rubik's Cube Temple. Of course, your talent, comprehension, and hard work may affect the benefits you will get. But basically, as long as you don't die in there, everyone should get something. As Lawless spoke, he led everyone into the huge gatehouse. Death was so easy to talk about. It seemed that the Rubik's Cube Temple was not a good place. Although there was a chance, there was also a huge risk. The moment they stepped into the huge gatehouse, the 10 of them clearly felt as if they had stepped into another world. The spiritual energy here was more abundant than in the Wanlei extreme place. As for Ling Xiao, he felt that his cultivation was beginning to move, and there were signs of a breakthrough. This is a good place. If I'm not wrong, this should still be in the Wanlei extreme place, but I'm not sure where exactly. Ling Xiao was very sensitive to formations. Even after stepping into the gatehouse, he could still feel the aura of the Wanlei fairy slaying formation. Therefore, making such a judgment was basically not wrong. In other words, this black tortoise temple should be within the 10,000 lightning extreme place. Cold Plum asked, "It should be. The black tortoise temple has always been very mysterious. No one knows its exact location." Ling Xiao nodded and said, "I'm just guessing, it might not be true. However, it's best not to speak of this matter. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would be disadvantageous to you and me. If he knew too much, it would be easy for him to be silenced. Greetings, Venerable Lawless." Just as Ling Xiao was sighing over the mysteriousness and strangeness of this place, a voice rang out. Unexpectedly, a person walked out of the magic cube shrine. This person was about 26 or 27 years old. He was a male with a very handsome appearance. Moreover, his entire body exuded a powerful aura. Without a doubt, this person's talent and comprehension were outstanding. At the very least, he would not be weaker than the 13 top geniuses. Perhaps this person was someone who had been chosen in the previous White Tiger Storm meet. Ling Xiao thought. Lawless spoke. The path of martial arts has no end. This person's name is Lin Yuan. During the previous White Tiger Storm meet, he was only 16 years old. He was the last to be recruited by the Black Tortoise Temple. At that time, his cultivation was only at Yin Yang Realm Level 1. After 10 years, his current cultivation has reached the peak of Yin Yang Realm Level 18. With such a cultivation speed, apart from immortal and divine grade geniuses, he is considered one of the top geniuses. Speaking of which, 10 years ago, there were no such young experts in the White Tiger mainland. Even Yin Yang Realm Level 1 geniuses could be selected. You guys are really good, so don't waste this opportunity. Lawless glanced at Lin Yuan and said, Lin Yuan, any one of these 10 people is more talented than you, so don't show off in front of them. Otherwise, don't blame me for not warning you if something goes wrong. Now, I'll leave them to you. I'll come here to pick them up in 10 days. Yes, master. Lin Yuan was very respectful in front of Lawless. After all, Lawless was a rebirth realm expert. I'm leaving. Take care of yourselves. Lawless glanced at Ling Xiao and said, especially you. You're too arrogant. You'll be at a disadvantage. Thank you for your advice, senior. Ling Xiao said calmly. Ever since Lawless lost the bet to him, his attitude towards him seemed to have changed quite a bit. I hope you guys can come out alive. Lawless turned and left after he finished speaking. As soon as he left, Lin Yuan's attitude immediately changed. He was originally submissive, but he instantly became cold and arrogant. I don't care if you're geniuses or if you're more talented than me. Here, even if you're a dragon, you'll still have to bow down. Lawless glanced at everyone. When he saw that the 10 of them did not speak, he could not help but feel even more proud. He seemed to think that he was quite dignified. Actually, the 10 of them were not afraid of him at all. It was just that this was a rare opportunity. No one would cause trouble just because of a few words. Not bad. It's good that you're obedient. Follow me. Lin Yuan turned and walked forward. The others followed behind him. There was nothing to hesitate about. Since they had followed Lawless here, how could they choose to leave just because they were afraid? When they stepped through one of the doors of the Rubik's Square Sacred Palace, the 10 of them were immediately shocked. The spiritual energy here was much denser than the outside world. If they could continue to cultivate here, perhaps their cultivation would be even stronger than it was today. This might be the benefit of joining a top force. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was only a part of it. The formations, elixirs, and other things that could be used to support cultivation would be more abundant and better than other forces. The Black Tortoise Sacred Palace has 13 honorables. Lawless is the weakest among them. The honorables of our Rubik's Square Sacred Palace are ranked 5th. While walking, Lin Yuan said proudly, so don't just be afraid of Lawless. Here, you should be afraid of our Rubik's Square Sacred Palace. The Rebirth Realm Lawless was ranked last among the 13 honorables. Wasn't the Black Tortoise Sacred Palace's foundation a little too deep? Ling Xiao suddenly thought of Xianming. That guy was so powerful that even the Liquor Demon Sword, who had killed 2 Rebirth Realm Warriors, was afraid of him. The Black Tortoise Sacred Palace was really too powerful. It was no wonder that they were so overbearing. There was a reason for it. If the Black Tortoise Sacred Palace was so powerful, then what about the Deep Earth sect behind it? Chapter 1942. If the Black Tortoise Sacred Hall was already so powerful, how terrifying would the Deep Earth sect behind it be? Ling Xiao didn't dare to think any further. He thought he was already very strong, but now it seemed that he was nothing more than an ant in the entire profound world. But he wouldn't be discouraged. Being an ant that could turn the profound world upside down wasn't bad either. The stronger the enemy, the greater the sense of accomplishment in defeating them. Just where are we going? Tyranny Heavenly Ocean seemed to be getting impatient, so he opened his mouth and asked, Naturally, we're going where we should go. If you think it's too troublesome, you can just leave. Lin Yuan glanced back at Tianhai Tyranny. I've seen too many self-righteous geniuses. Your generation is the luckiest, but also the most ignorant. In the Black Tortoise Sacred Hall, your talents count for nothing. So it's best if you don't open your mouths before me unless I tell you to. I wonder who's the ignorant one. If this wasn't the Magic Square Sacred Hall, you'd have died a dozen times over for your words. Feng Fei smiled faintly. That's right, Tianhai Tyranny agreed. Well said. This person's mouth is too cheap. Heavenly Wolf Prince smiled coldly. This time, the 10 of them seemed to be on the same side. This Lin Yuan actually dared to call them ignorant and arrogant. If these words came from Lawless, then so be it. But what right did a mere Lin Yuan have? These 10 were the top geniuses of the White Tiger continent. They'd fought bitterly to advance to the final round. Are you all thinking of rebelling? Lin Yuan's expression turned ugly, but he didn't dare to make a move. He wasn't weak and could tell that Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, and Lei Lai weren't any weaker than him. If they really fought, he'd be the one at a disadvantage. We don't dare to rebel, but you were the last to enter the Black Tortoise Sacred Hall. Your talents here aren't that great, right? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. That's still above average. Lin Yuan said. If above average talent is trash like you, then it looks like the high talent in the Black Tortoise Sacred Hall isn't that great either. You've cultivated from the first level of the Yin-Yang realm to the 18th level of the Yin-Yang realm in 10 years under such good conditions. Don't you feel ashamed? Ling Xiao smiled and said, since you're leading the way, just lead the way obediently. You can't afford to insult just anyone. Although a few of the 10 people did not get along well with Ling Xiao, this time they all agreed with Ling Xiao and nodded in agreement. Humph! What a bunch of idiots that don't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Once you enter the magic cube smelting trial, you'll know what true cruelty is. Lin Yuan coldly snorted. In the end, he did not dare to attack these people. In the end, he was still afraid. However, he took a serious look at Ling Xiao. Whether it was Feng Fei or Tianhai Tyranny, he wasn't sure if he could beat them. But this Ling Xiao was only at the 15th level of the Yin-Yang realm. What right did he have to speak to him like this? When this guy was alone, he would definitely teach him a lesson. When he thought of this, he felt a lot better. The group continued forward and soon saw the main hall of the Magic Cube Shrine. In the main hall, there was a colorful throne, and the person sitting on it was actually a child. He looked no older than 7 or 8 years old and was playing with a magic cube in his hands. The magic cube was a toy imported from the Shinji continent. It was very suitable for children to train their intelligence. So many smart children liked to play with it. However, when they saw that the person sitting on the throne was actually playing with this thing, they still felt a sense of disharmony. That's the son of your honored sir, right? Long Chin asked with a smile. Don't be rude. That's the honored sir of our magic cube shrine. Why aren't you greeting him? As Lin Yuan spoke, he took the lead to kneel down. But none of the 10 people following him knelt. They were all prideful geniuses who would kneel before a child. Venerable one, these 10 people are really too immature. Should we teach them a lesson first? Lin Yuan asked. No need. Geniuses are always prideful. As long as they can pass the magic cube trial, they can become an official disciple of the Black Tortoise Shrine. But before entering, I'll have to trouble you to sign this thing. The Magic Cube Shrine threw out a booklet with a paragraph written on it. I'm willing to join the Black Tortoise Shrine and accept all the rules of the shrine. At the back was the place to sign. What do you mean? You have to join the Black Tortoise Shrine to accept the Magic Cube trial? Ling Xiao frowned and asked, No. I thought you guys wouldn't refuse. The Black Tortoise Shrine is the strongest force in the White Tiger continent. You won't lose out if you join us. Are you not willing? The Magic Cube Shrine looked at Ling Xiao with a smile and asked. However, this smile made people feel uncomfortable. It was as if they were being stared at by a smiling wolf. seeing that everyone was hesitating. The magic cube shrine didn't get angry. He only said, "All right, I'll bring you guys to visit the magic cube shrine. Then, you'll know that I'm not harming you." He didn't stand up. Instead, he flew in the air with his legs crossed. He was still playing with the magic cube in his hand. The magic cube shrine brought the 10 of them to visit the shrine's cafeteria, accommodation, cultivation, and other places. Then they returned to the main hall. The eyes of the 10 people were filled with shock. The things they're eating are heavenly treasures that we've been dreaming of. It's something that's hard to get in the White Tiger continent. The place they're staying in is a place that uses a special array to assist in cultivation. Their cultivation speed is several times faster than us outside. And the place they're cultivating has so many high-level sparring partners and such good guidance. We've been living in vain all these years. If we can get these, we might even have a chance to break through to the rebirth realm. This was the thought in every martial artist's mind. In a place like the Black Tortoise Shrine, all the genius martial artists didn't need to kill or take risks. They could obtain the guidance of powerful masters and even find high-level sparring partners to learn from. They could even obtain powerful martial arts manuals. In addition to the daily consumption of heavenly treasures, the place they were cultivating in was excellent. It could even be said that they didn't need to work hard. As long as they cultivated on time, ate, drank, and played, they would be stronger than most of the martial artists outside. This was the difference in birth. The starting point of others was higher than the martial artists outside. Now this place gave them a chance to join this place and get the same treatment. How should they choose? As long as they weren't crazy, they would make a wise choice. After all, the rise of the grassroots was only a rare occurrence. Most of the grassroots couldn't surpass these superior martial artists in their entire lives. Therefore, once there was a chance to turn things around, it would be foolish to let it go. Chapter 1943. It had to be said that this honored Rubik's Cube was too formidable. All he did was take them on a tour, but it changed everyone's minds. Since Black Tortoise Temple values us so highly, how could we not know what's good for us? Feng Fei was the first to write down his name. Good. Strangers shouldn't get close to Feng Fei, the top genius of the Jingyi School. Actually, the Jingyi School's cultivation resources aren't any worse than our Black Tortoise Temple's. Your choice surprised me. Honored Rubik's Cube smiled. Honored Rubik doesn't welcome me. Feng Fei asked with a grin. No, of course you're welcome. Anyone can join Black Tortoise Temple. Honored Rubik's Cube didn't seem to care about the loyalty of these people. Ling Xiao began to worry. Generally speaking, forces that displayed such confidence most likely had a way to turn these people into their faithful followers. Tianhai Empire and Tianhai Tyranny are also willing to join. Tianhai Empire's crown prince, a peerless genius. Along with Feng Fei, you're known as the twin prides of heaven. This honored one is very happy that you're willing to join my Black Tortoise Temple. Honored Rubik's Cube smiled. White Tiger Empire's Lei Lai joins. Tianhai Empire's Mu Wanshuang joins. Jingyi School's Zui Linglong joins. Tianhai Empire's Little Guy joins. Full Moon Empire's Heavenly Wolf Gentleman joins. One by one, the usually arrogant martial artists agreed to join Black Tortoise Temple and wrote down their names on the booklet. But in the end, 3 people didn't move. Naturally, these 3 were Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Long Chin. If Ling Xiao didn't join, the other 2 wouldn't either. You 3 aren't willing? Honored Rubik's Cube looked at Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Long Chin. Cold Plum and Long Chin didn't speak, but looked at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled. Honored Rubik's Cube. Why ask when you already know the answer? This junior has already become enemies with the head of the profound underworld sect and killed many of his guards. Even if I wanted to join Black Tortoise Temple, he wouldn't agree, right? Oh, are you the martial artist who trespassed into the Profound Wind Temple and kidnapped young Master Profound Wind? venerable magic cube, looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. To be honest, he was very surprised. Ling Xiao's cultivation seemed to be only at the beginning stage of the 15th level of Yin-Yang realm. With such a cultivation, it was impossible for him to be Xian Feng's match, let alone Xian Ye's match. How did this brat manage to kidnap her when the sect master of the mysterious underworld sect was personally involved? His heart was filled with shock, and his interest in Ling Xiao was piqued. Forget it. The Black Tortoise Divine Palace will not force you. If you don't want to join, I won't force you either. It's just a pity that the three of you have reached such a level of cultivation at such a young age. If you could join the Black Tortoise Divine Palace, you would definitely have a greater improvement in the future. The Magic Cube Venerable naturally knew what kind of person Xianming was. Ling Xiao had offended Xianming. Although it seemed that he could rely on the hostages in his hands to participate in the White Tiger Store meet, it would be difficult for him to escape death. What was the use of a dead person, no matter how talented he was? Venerable One, there seems to be some misunderstanding. It's not the three of us, it's just me. The two of them are good kids, and they don't have any grudges with the sect master of the mysterious underworld sect. They should be able to sign. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He had thought about it carefully. He could not put all his eggs in the same basket. He made a different choice from Cold Plum and Long Chin. In that case, even if they were unlucky, they would not be unlucky at the same time. One of them would find a way to help the other. You're right. Are the two of you willing to sign? The Magic Cube Venerable looked at Long Chin and Cold Plum and asked. Long Chen was about to reject, but Cold Plum pressed his head down and lowered his head. We're willing. Long Chen's brain was not as good as Cold Plum's. Cold Plum instantly understood Ling Xiao's thoughts, but Long Chen was still confused. But now that Lung Mei was pressing down on his head, he kept his mouth shut and listened to her obediently. Celestial Empire's Cold Plum, join. Celestial Empire's Long Chen, join. The two of them wrote their names on the book. All right, since you've signed, you'll enter your own Magic Cube trial grounds and use the Magic Cube in your hands to obtain different opportunities. As for what the opportunities will be, I don't know. It'll all depend on your own opportunities. The Magic Cube Venerable smiled and ordered his men to keep the book. He then stood up and said, Let's go. Follow me to the trial grounds of the Magic Cube Shrine. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. The Black Tortoise Shrine had such good cultivation conditions and rich resources. This trial grounds must be a good place too. After passing through the land of trials, their strength would definitely increase tremendously. Martial artists, especially genius martial artists, had a very strong pursuit of the martial Tao. In a flash, everyone followed the Magic Cube Venerable and broke through the sky. Although they didn't know what the Magic Cube smelting trial was like, what they could be sure of was that the 10 of them had been fiercely fighting for so long. Finally, they would be able to obtain the benefits they deserved. In addition to the Magic Cube Venerable, Lin Yuan was also on standby. He looked at Ling Xiao with pity and sarcasm. This made Ling Xiao very uncomfortable. At the same time, he guessed that it was because he did not sign the book and had angered the sect master of the mysterious underworld sect. This time, he would not have an easy time. While he was thinking, the group arrived at a place where clouds and mist lingered, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. This place was very strange. It was as if they could not see their surroundings clearly all year round. Only the 10 doors were tightly shut, exuding a powerful and mysterious aura. I don't know what's behind these doors, but it feels like an independent space. It's just like the spatial crack in the Myriad Demon's graveyard. However, the space here has been reinforced and transformed by the Black Tortoise Shrine, so it won't collapse on its own. Ling Xiao would not forget that he had entered the spatial crack in the Myriad Demon's graveyard and obtained a large number of reincarnation seeds. Although the reincarnation seeds were not very useful to him now, once he reached the rebirth realm, they would be a necessity. Otherwise, when the reincarnation seeds entered the world, the loss would be too great. These 10 doors lead to 10 different independent spaces. These are the trial grounds that the Black Tortoise Shrine has transformed through heaven-defying means. The magic cube is not only the key to opening the doors, it is also the key to activating the trial grounds. The magic cube venerables words enlightened everyone. The last 10 people would be heading to the 10 doors of the trial grounds. As for those in the revival round, they would not be so lucky. The place they would be heading to would definitely not be as good as here. This was an advantage. All right, let's not talk nonsense. According to the order of the magic cube, enter the trial grounds from the back to the front. The magic cube venerable said loudly. Chapter 1944. The cube in Supremacy Rubik's hand suddenly flew into the air. A rainbow light shone on one of the giant doors, and the surrounding clouds and lightning instantly disappeared. Hurry up! Who's the 10th? Me. The Heavenly Wolf Prince responded, then took his Rubik's Cube and walked to the giant door. As the Rubik's Cube emitted a blinding light, the Heavenly Wolf Prince was directly sucked in. His figure completely disappeared. It really is an alternate dimension. Ling Xiao saw it more clearly this time. Who's the 9th person? Supremacy Rubik's Cube used the Rubik's Cube to repel the lightning and clouds around the 9th door. Me. Xiao Budian's figure flashed, and he entered. The 8th person, Zue Linglong, also entered the trial ground. Supremacy Rubik could not help but look surprised. He did not pay attention to the white tiger meat before, so he did not know the rankings of these 10 people. However, according to his deduction, Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Long Chin should be ranked at the bottom of the 10. After all, their cultivation did not seem to be very strong. However, it was already the 8th person, and the 3 of them still did not step forward. It was really surprising. It was also very interesting. The 7th person, me. This time, Long Chin finally stepped forward and entered the trial ground. Supremacy Rubik's Cube seemed to be relieved, and he secretly smiled. It seems that these 3 should be the 7th, 6th, and 5th. Although this result is very surprising, it's still acceptable. However, he was completely dumbfounded. When he called the 6th person, he looked at Cold Plum and Ling Xiao, but the one who stepped forward was Mu Wanshuang. Mu Wanshuang defeated Sun Lingchan, so she naturally replaced Sun Lingchan's position. This was not strange, but why was it not Ling Xiao or Cold Plum? Could it be that both of them had entered the top 5? It seemed that it was impossible not to believe it. After all, there were only 5 people left. Supremacy Rubik's Cube absolutely believed in his eyesight. Whether it was Long Chen, Cold Plum, or Ling Xiao, they could not hide in front of him. Especially his cultivation, he could tell at a glance. Then Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny will definitely be ranked 1st and 2nd. Lei Lai is also much stronger than Cold Plum and Ling Xiao. It looks like those 2 should be ranked 4th and 5th. This was really too surprising. To be able to rank in the top 5 with such a cultivation base is already a miracle. Venerable Magic Cube had never been as shocked as he was today. All right, you 2 can go in now. He looked directly at Ling Xiao and Cold Plum. This made Lei Lai and Heavenly Ocean Tyranny's expressions turn ugly. Even Venerable Magic Cube believed that Ling Xiao and Cold Plum were inferior to them, but they were ranked 4th and 5th, lower than Ling Xiao. It could be seen that the higher the ranking of the trial grounds, the more benefits they would obtain. Venerable One, I'm 5th. Lei Lai stood out and said, The 4th is me. Tianhai Tyranny said with a gloomy expression. This time, Venerable Magic Cube was even more shocked. How could this be? Did something go wrong? How could Ling Xiao and Cold Plum be ranked in the top 3? But this was the reality in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. On the side, Lin Yuan's expression was ugly as well. He looked down on Ling Xiao the most and had even threatened Ling Xiao to teach Ling Xiao a lesson. However, from the looks of it, Ling Xiao was actually in the top 3 in the treasure hunt battle? Just what kind of treasure did this brat have to be so powerful? What a lucky bastard! Lin Yuan's eyes were filled with rage and intense jealousy. If Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, or Lei Lai were in the top 3, he wouldn't be like this. But why did it have to be Ling Xiao? Who's third? This time, Venerable Magic Cube felt that he couldn't have guessed wrong. First place had to be Feng Fei, while Ling Xiao and Cold Plum could only be ranked second and third. Although this was already a miracle among miracles. He couldn't believe it, but he forced himself to accept it. It's me. Feng Fei smiled and entered the third door. This time, Lin Yuan's jealousy grew even stronger. What kind of joke was this? Letting that trash Ling Xiao enter the first 2 doors? Was he worthy? Venerable Magic Cube knitted his brows as well. Of the 10, only Ling Xiao hadn't signed his name on the booklet. In other words, only Ling Xiao wasn't willing to join the Black Tortoise Temple. Moreover, Ling Xiao had a grudge against the profound underworld sect head. He really didn't want Ling Xiao to be first. Even if Cold Plum was first, he could still accept it. But reality slapped him hard in the face again. When he let the second person enter the second door, it was Cold Plum who stepped out. "Master, take care." So speaking, Cold Plum stepped into the second door. The atmosphere turned awkward. Both were solemn. Venerable Magic Cube and Lin Yuan didn't speak, but stared fixedly at Ling Xiao as if trying to see through him. His cultivation wasn't strong, but he was first place out of the 10. Although this wasn't the final ranking of the Battle of the Kings, the fact that he'd taken first place in the treasure hunt without being disqualified was enough to show how terrifying he was. How could this guy get first place? Something must have gone wrong. Lin Yuan actually shouted. It was obvious that he'd lost control of his emotions after being provoked again and again. "Calm down, Lin Yuan." Venerable Magic Cube looked at Lin Yuan, then at Ling Xiao. "You took first place in the treasure hunt." He seemed to feel that there was something wrong and didn't believe in Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao didn't speak, but took out his Rubik's Cube. There was a big one on it. At this point, even Venerable Magic Cube had to believe this fact. A guy who didn't want to join Black Tortoise Temple got the best Rubik's Cube and entered the best Rubik's Cube trial ground. If this spread out, it would be a devastating blow to Black Tortoise Temple's reputation. Absolutely not. Venerable Magic Cube's eyes turned cold. At this moment, a voice rang out in his mind. For the next 10 days, Ling Xiao will be in the temple's heavenly prison. Leave the trial ground of the first door to the others. Sect Master. Venerable Magic Cube was stunned. He didn't expect the Sect Master to ask about this matter personally. Leave it to who? Venerable Magic Cube asked. She's here. Xian Ming's voice sounded. Venerable Rubik Cube saw 2 women flying towards him. One of them was Green Hill Li Hua, and the other was Green Hill Fairy. They were both martial artists of the Silver Fox Empire. "So it's you. I understand." Venerable Magic Cube, as a venerable of Magic Cube Temple, naturally knew the identity of Green Hill Li Hua and Green Hill Fairy. In fact, these 2 were spies of Black Tortoise Temple in the Silver Fox Empire. Although they were from the Silver Fox clan, they were already martial artists of Black Tortoise Temple. Chapter 1945. In fact, there were people from the Black Tortoise Temple in the 4 great empires and the Genie School. Lei Mang of the White Tiger Empire, Prince Tianlang of the Yueling Empire, Crown Princess of the Tianhai Empire, 100-Eyed Demon, Lord Wu Long of the Genie School. Unfortunately, Lei Mang was killed by Mu Wanshuang, while the Crown Princess and Wu Long were killed by Ling Xiao. This caused the Black Tortoise Temple to suffer heavy losses. In other words, even if there was no conflict between Ling Xiao and the Xianming sect master, it was impossible for him to be allowed to enter the trial ground, because he was not qualified. Ling Xiao, hand over your Rubik's Cube. This way, we can let you stay in the Rubik's temple for 10 days. Otherwise, the temple prison will become the place where you will spend these 10 days. There, you will suffer the most tragic punishment. The Rubik's Cube Venerable looked at Ling Xiao indifferently and said, to be honest, he still valued this young man very much. Unfortunately, an enemy was an enemy. He could not let this guy enter the trial ground just because he thought highly of him. What do you mean? Is the Black Tortoise Temple going back on their word? Ling Xiao had long expected that the Black Tortoise Temple would not let him have an easy time. However, he was still very surprised that the Black Tortoise Temple would make a move on him so quickly. Wasn't this a little too hasty? Go back on our word? Haha, there are no outsiders here. Others don't know. Even if you die, others will think that you died in the trial ground. The Rubik's Cube Venerable sneered. Then why don't you just kill me? Ling Xiao mocked. Of course, it's for the hostages in your hands. We cannot kill you, but we can still do something to you. At this point, the Rubik's Cube Venerable clearly did not want to talk nonsense anymore. He waved his hand and said, Fairy Qingqiu Li Hua, take down Ling Xiao and the Rubik's Cube is yours. Yes, Fairy Qingqiu and Qingqiu Li Hua were eliminated and had to enter the list of the last 20 people through the revival round. But how could they be convinced? From their point of view, Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Long Chin had taken advantage of the second battle and were not as strong as they thought. What's more, now that the two sisters had joined forces, would they still be able to deal with Ling Xiao? So when Venerable Magic Cube gave the order, the two of them didn't even think about it and directly attacked. However, Ling Xiao was even faster than them. Ling Xiao knew very well that, at this moment, he had to strike first to gain the upper hand. Only then would he have a chance of survival. Fairy Qingqiu only saw an afterimage charging towards her. It was so fast that she couldn't react in time. Left with no choice, she tried her best to move to the side in an attempt to avoid the attack. Ling Xiao brushed past Fairy Qingqiu. His target was actually the Magic Cube trial ground. He believed that as long as he could enter that place, no one would be able to take the Magic Cube from him. Unfortunately, although the plan was good, it was clear that the opponent had also considered this point. The Magic Cube Venerable had directly appeared on the path to the first door. This made Ling Xiao's expression change, and he was even more annoyed. Since the Black Tortoise Temple is so heartless, then don't blame me, Ling Xiao, for being unrighteous. Didn't you want these two women to enter the trial ground in my place? Then I'll kill them. As Ling Xiao thought to himself, he suddenly turned around and threw an array stone into the air. Thousand Gate Formation. Senior sister, watch out! Qingqiu Li Hua screamed. At the same time that Ling Xiao disappeared, a blood-red sword appeared in his hand. The sword shone with an evil light and stabbed into Fairy Qingqiu's arm. Although Fairy Qingqiu dodged extremely quickly and avoided her vital parts, she couldn't avoid the terrifying effect of the blood-red sword. Why is my blood qi constantly fading? What kind of sword are you using? Fairy Qingqiu screamed in horror. The sword that will kill you. Ling Xiao's figure disappeared again, and only a red sword light appeared again, stabbing towards Fairy Qingqiu from an extremely strange angle. Fairy Qingqiu's blood qi was constantly fading, and her strength was also constantly declining. The second sword directly penetrated her body. Fairy Qingqiu screamed miserably, and a large amount of blood qi was absorbed by the blood-red sword. Her originally bright and clean face instantly withered and aged, as if she was an old lady in her 70s or 80s. No. Magic Cube Venerable, save me! Save me! Fairy Qingqiu screamed, but there was nothing she could do. He can't save you. Ling Xiao knew very well that Magic Cube Venerable was blocking the path to the first door, and it was impossible for him to leave. Lin Yuan, help her! Magic Cube Venerable frowned and ordered Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan originally planned to wait for Fairy Qingqiu and Fairy Qingqiu Li Hua to reveal Ling Zhao's background before making a move. But now that Venerable Magic Cube had given the order, he had no choice but to make a move. A terrifying aura was released from his body. Then he actually threw a punch at Ling Zhao from behind. "You traitor! Stop what you're doing!" "Shut up, you motherfucker!" Ling Zhao cursed loudly. Under Goddess Qingqiu's despairing gaze, he sent the blood sword into her throat. Another top-notch genius had died. Boom! At the same time, Lin Yuan's fist landed on Ling Zhao's back. However, Ling Zhao, who was emitting an earthy yellow light, only swayed a little. Suddenly, he swung his sword backwards, causing the terrified Lin Yuan to quickly retreat. However, his wrist was still cut by the sword, and his blood and qi continuously flowed out. How is this possible? What kind of cultivation technique did this guy cultivate? His defense is so strong. Lin Yuan circulated his yin-yang energy to stop his blood and qi from flowing out. However, he did not dare to approach Ling Zhao. On the other hand, Fairy Qingqiu Li Hu was trembling in fear and did not dare to make a move. "I really admire you, Ling Zhao. I didn't expect you to be able to kill Fairy Qingqiu and injure Lin Yuan in front of me when you're only at the 15th level of the yin-yang realm. However, you still don't stand a chance." As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Zhao felt a terrifying power coming at him. He hesitated for a moment, but in the end he did not use his final trump card. He had to save that trump card to fight Xianming. He had to save it first. After all, Venerable Magic Cube Venerable would not kill him. Boom! A terrifying palm energy poured into his body. Ling Zhao could not help but smile bitterly. Damn! My bones that had just healed were all shattered again. How unlucky. "Come, take him to the temple prison," Venerable Magic Cube Venerable shouted. He took the Rubik's Cube from Ling Zhao's hands and handed it to Qingqiu Li Hua. Then he said coldly, "This is the chance that your sister risked her life for you. Remember, you need to avenge your sister." "Yes, master." Fairy Qingqiu Li Hua glanced at Ling Zhao, who was being taken away. He gritted his teeth and stepped into the first door. "Lin Yuan, now you understand that there's always someone better than you. I told you to focus on cultivating normally, but you thought too highly of yourself. Now, you were injured by a mere Ling Zhao. Is that something to be proud of?" Chapter 1946. This disciple knows his wrongs. Lin Yuan hated Ling Zhao to the core, but he didn't dare speak carelessly in front of honored Rubiks. "It's good that you know your wrongs. Go to the Heavenly Dharma Shrine and invite honored Elder Lawless here. There are some things I need to ask him." Honored Rubiks was stunned by Ling Zhao's talents and abilities. He had already overestimated Ling Zhao, but Ling Zhao had still done something shocking. He had to know more about Ling Zhao. This disciple obeys. Lin Yuan quickly turned and left. Soon enough, Lawless arrived at Rubik's shrine. "What's wrong, Rubik's? Did something happen to those people?" Lawless might not be as strong as honored Rubik's, but their positions in Black Tortoise Shrine were equal. Naturally, he wouldn't be as timid as Lin Yuan in front of honored Rubik's. "There are some things I need your guidance on. Why don't we have some tea and talk?" Rubik's Venerable Rubik's invited Lawless to sit down, and Lin Yuan prepared tea for him. "The rankings of those 10 people surprised me. Are you sure there's no problem with Ling Zhao and Cold Plum's results?" Honored Rubik's asked. "Of course there's no problem. With this honored Rubik's supervision, how could they cheat?" Lawless was a little unhappy. "Senior brother, don't be angry. I'm just surprised that those two managed to get first place. I'll have to trouble senior brother to tell me more about those 10 people. The more detailed, the better, including their performance in the first 2 matches." Honored Rubik smiled. "Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, and Lei Lai are the 3 most outstanding of the White Tiger Continent's top 13 geniuses. They didn't use their true strength from the first match to the 3rd round of the Battle of the Kings. Thus, I'm not very clear about their strength, but there's no doubt that they'll be strong contenders for the top 3. They're ranked 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively. As for Mu Wanchuang, she was the one who surprised me the most. Her strength was unfathomable. I even suspected that she was stronger than Feng Fei, but that was only a guess. There was no guarantee that she was right. Long Qin is a true descendant of the Dragon Clan. Although he's not very strong now, after the Rubik's trial and the War Dragon King's inherited memories, he's very strong. He's not to be underestimated. Drunken Linglong is skilled in the use of spiritual energy, her attacks that are impossible to defend against. The 9th-ranked little guy actually obtained 5 types of inherited memories from the Purgatory Blood Battle, which was extremely terrifying. The 10th-ranked Heavenly Wolf Young Master's overall strength isn't weak either. He isn't any weaker than the other 2. Yes, thank you, senior brother. What about Ling Xiao and Lung Mei? Honored Rubik's name. Cold Plum situation is a bit special. I didn't notice her before, but after she participated in the treasure hunt, she unexpectedly activated her Black Featherman bloodline. Her strength increased explosively, even if she can't get anything from the trial grounds. As long as she can master the Black Featherman bloodline, she'll still be in the top 10 in the end. Lawless had a very high opinion of Lung Mei. After all, Lung Mei's potential was so high that even the sect master of the mysterious underworld sect had personally come to snatch her away. As for Ling Xiao, Lawless paused and looked at the Rubiks, venerable. If I'm not mistaken, you've met him before, right? At first glance, he looks ordinary, but after some time, you'll notice that he's not ordinary at all. Not only does he have shocking potential, but his comprehension is frightening. He's also proficient in refining pills and formations. It's impossible to guard against him. I didn't expect you to have such a high opinion of him. That's right, he just killed Fairy Qingqiu right in front of me. Honored Rubik sighed. What? This guy killed again? Lawless widened his eyes. Out of the 13 top geniuses in the White Tiger continent, 3 of them have died in his hands. However, this guy's cultivation is only at the 15th level of Yin-Yang realm. This is unbelievable. Therefore, this guy either has to serve the Black Tortoise Divine Palace or get rid of him as soon as possible. Otherwise, he'll be a disaster. Lin Yuan suddenly interjected. Do you have a chance to interrupt me? Honored Rubix glared at Lin Yuan and said, Ling Xiao doesn't have a chance anymore. What do you mean? Lawless was stunned. I was ordered to take his Rubik's Cube and gave it to Qingqiu Lihua to enter the first door. I broke his bones and threw him into the Divine Palace's prison. There he couldn't heal or cultivate. Do you think he'll have a chance after 10 days? Honored Rubik smiled. That's too much. Lawless wanted to say shameless, but didn't say it in the end. Don't worry about shamelessness. This person must be eliminated. Since we can't do it ourselves, let's leave him to the ranking matches. I believe there are many people who want to kill him, right? Honored Rubik smiled. That's true, including Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, Lei Lai, and Xiao Budian. They all want his life. Lawless nodded. They don't need to do it. Qingqiu Lihua is enough. Next, I'll help Qingqiu Lihua raise her cultivation. With the things she comprehended from the first door, she'll definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. Honored Rubix smiled coldly. I want Ling Xiao to fall into complete despair. When a person is in complete despair, they'll know fear. When that happens, I might have a chance to take him in for my own use. In the end, both Xian Ming and Honored Rubix were shocked by Ling Xiao's talent and perception. They really didn't want to kill him so easily. That would be too much of a pity. This is really cruel to him. Not only did someone steal his Rubik's medal, he was also defeated and even trampled on. Lawless sighed. I'm afraid he won't be able to take it and will commit suicide first. If he chooses to commit suicide, then he's nothing much. He's not worthy of being remembered by me or the sect master. Honored Rubix added. That's true. Lawless nodded. On the side, Lin Yuan was very excited. Ling Xiao, this brat, actually dared to hurt him. Serves him right for falling to such a state. Although it was a bit pitiful, this was the Jianghu, the profound world. If you didn't tuck your tail between your legs, you'd be waiting to be taken care of. Black Tortoise Temple's most sinister and heavily guarded celestial prison temple, in a secluded secret room. Ling Xiao was casually thrown in like a dead dog. Then his hands, feet, and even his shoulder blades were pierced with chains made of special materials. This place was completely dark. This was the most secluded place in the Black Tortoise Temple. It was also the place where no one could escape. This was the place where the felons were kept. It was enough to show how vigilant the Black Tortoise Temple was towards Ling Xiao. One had to know that even a rebirth realm expert couldn't break into this place. Chapter 1947. Even a rebirth grade martialist couldn't break into the Sacred Hall Sky Prison. Therefore, even if the Wine Demon's sword wanted to save him, it was impossible. He could only rely on himself. Damn it, it hurts. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth and cursed. At this moment, his entire body was covered in blood. His body was almost cracked, and scars were all over his body, making him look like a broken pottery doll. However, pottery dolls could bleed. These scars were caused by the magic cube venerate. That was a rebirth realm warrior. A rebirth realm warrior who was even stronger than Lawless. His external injuries were already in such a state, so the internal injuries were even more serious. In any case, his bones were completely shattered and he couldn't use his internal strength. He could only lie there like a worm. Disciple, are you all right? The Yuan Venerate's voice rang out in Ling Xiao's mind. How could I be all right? That magic cube venerate doesn't look very old. But he should be an old rebirth grade martialist who has changed his appearance and body shape. If he hadn't dared to kill me, I would have really died. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly in response. Fortunately, he had captured Xianfeng as a hostage. He didn't know what that kid's identity was to actually be valued so highly by Black Tortoise Sacred Hall. Otherwise, he would really have to use the Butterfly Lady as a trump card. Do you regret it? The Yuan Venerate asked suddenly. Regret? Regret what? Ling Xiao chuckled. Regret saving Cold Plum? Or regret killing those who deserved to be killed? He would rather die than give up on Cold Plum. Those who had been killed by him were people who wanted to kill him. He had no choice but to fight. Therefore, it was impossible for him to regret anything. If he really wanted to blame someone, he could only blame himself for not being strong enough. I just want to become stronger now. I want to become stronger, even if I have to transform into a real demon. Ling Xiao had a feeling that there was no such thing as good or evil in this world. If a martialist said you were good, you were good. If a martialist said you were evil, you were evil. He had seen too many things like this. When he was still a beggar, he had heard of the tragic deeds of a general of the Sacred Dynasty. That general had outstanding military achievements and made great contributions to the Sacred Dynasty. However, because he was framed by evil people, the Sacred Emperor labeled him as a traitor and accused him of colluding with the enemy. He thought that such a person would have the support of many people. However, the truth was that the general had been skinned alive by the people of the Sacred Dynasty. His death was extremely miserable. At that time, Ling Xiao knew that without strength, everything was meaningless. Whether you want to do good or evil, you must have strength. In fact, if he hadn't had the Moon Lady's help back in the Divine Phoenix Empire, Jining and the others wouldn't have been able to survive, let alone him. Moreover, Jining was likely to be skinned alive like that general. Ling Xiao was the one who had changed Jining's fate. That was because he had the Moon Lady behind him, and the Moon Lady had enough power to protect him. However, as the enemies he encountered were getting stronger, he had to become stronger himself. Relying on others alone wouldn't be enough. The Yuan Venerate sighed, but didn't say anything. He wanted to refute Ling Xiao's words, but couldn't find a reason to do so. Yuan Venerate used to be all-powerful and awe-inspiring. However, he had now fallen to the point where he didn't even have a physical body. Why? It was because he was too kind. At the same time, his strength wasn't strong enough. That was why it was so tragic. He didn't want his disciple to walk the same path. Master, don't worry. I believe that neither the mysterious underworld race nor the magic cube venerate will want to kill me. If they really wanted to kill me, they would have already done so. The hostages in my hands are one reason. I reckon that they are also very interested in my exposed talents. Ling Xiao comforted the Yuan Venerate. That's right. Given your aptitude, if you join Black Tortoise Sacred Hall and receive some training, you can be sent to the Deep Earth Sect. The Deep Earth Sect will also face a lot of competition. They will definitely be very happy to have a genius like you join. The Yuan Venerate felt relieved. However, he was still a little worried. I'm just afraid that they will use extreme means to force you to join Black Tortoise Sacred Hall. As the two of them were conversing, Ling Zhao's injuries were constantly healing. Even the sky prison couldn't stop the power of the Heavenly Earth Queen from pouring in. Ling Zhao's body could still heal continuously even if he didn't use any internal power. However, he was also a little worried. If the Yuan Venerate said so, then the mysterious underworld race definitely wasn't a good person. At the same time, in the Supreme Black Tortoise Sacred Hall, the Magic Cube Venerate and Lawless stood below and watched the mysterious underworld race cautiously. Do you also think that it would be a pity to kill Ling Xiao? The mysterious underworld race suddenly asked. Yes, I think that it would be best not to kill Ling Xiao if possible. Otherwise, it would be a pity. Given his aptitude, he would definitely be a great help to the Deep Earth Sect. The Magic Cube Venerate replied. Lawless added, I think so too, but this person is arrogant and unruly. It would be really difficult to persuade him to join Black Tortoise Sacred Hall. Persuade? There's no need for that. Mysterious underworld race suddenly said, Does this mean that the sect master intends to execute him? Lawless and the Magic Cube Venerate were a little surprised. Executing such a genius would be like smashing a top-notch jade. It would be too wasteful. No. Mysterious underworld race shook his head. This made the two of them even more confused. Do you still remember the treasure I brought from the Deep Earth Sect? Mysterious underworld race asked. Ah, I know. Sect Master, are you talking about the treasure called Destiny? The Magic Cube Venerate exclaimed. No one can defy the destiny of heaven. They must accept their fate and become a member of the Deep Earth Sect. Furthermore, they must never betray us. Mysterious underworld race nodded. That's right. The destiny of heaven is very powerful, but it can only be used 3 times. I'll use one of them on Ling Xiao. You won't object, right? Of course not. It's definitely worth it. As long as we can control Ling Xiao, the Deep Earth Sect will have one more mainstay in the future. The Magic Cube Venerate said hurriedly. I think so too. Lawless nodded in agreement. The two of them had no doubts about Ling Xiao's talent and comprehension. It's a pity, though. Mysterious underworld race sighed. A warrior under the destiny of heaven will lose himself and his fighting wisdom will be affected. In fact, if it's possible, I'd rather keep this kid's cunning. He deserves it. He's too stubborn, the Magic Cube Venerate said. I just don't know if the destiny of heaven will work on Ling Xiao. I heard that warriors with strong willpower can resist the destiny of heaven. Don't worry. You don't know the composition of the destiny of heaven. In fact, the destiny of heaven is a treasure created by a wisp of the King of Sovereign Soul Consciousness and the experts of the Divine Mystery Continent. Let alone Ling Xiao, even a rebirth realm warrior can't resist it. Mysterious underworld race sneered. Chapter 1948. A complacent smile appeared on Xianming's face. Under the mandate of heaven, Ling Xiao will be thoroughly brainwashed. Even if he knows that we are his enemies, he will not feel any hatred towards us. Even if he sees us killing his friends in front of him, he will still be loyal to us. This is why the mandate of heaven is so terrifying. Xianming said confidently, All right, the two of you get ready and follow me to the divine prison temple. Yes. Clang. The door of Ling Xiao's cell was opened, and two fully armed divine guards walked in. The two divine guards stared at Ling Xiao. Their eyes were filled with hatred and fear. That day, when Ling Xiao transformed into a heavenly demon and went on a killing spree in the divine palace of Profound Wind, the two of them were present. That scene was really too horrifying. What do you want? Ling Xiao glanced at the two and asked. Sect Master Xianming wants to see you, so he ordered the two of us to bring you there. One of the divine guards replied respectfully. He did not dare to act rashly here. Although Ling Xiao could not move at all, he still did not dare to act rashly when he thought of the scene that day. See me? Tell him to come here. Ling Xiao sneered. He was currently healing himself and did not want to run around. That would not be good for his recovery. I hope that you won't make things difficult for us. We were only following orders. Moreover, from the looks of it, the sect master wants to help you heal. He even reprimanded Venerable Magic Cube, saying that Venerable Magic Cube's actions were inappropriate. The other divine guard said, Do you think I am a 3-year-old child? Ling Xiao looked at the divine guard with disdain and said, Forget it. Since he wants to see me, that's fine. Anyway, I can't move. Why don't you carry me away? Of course, that's not a problem. Upon hearing Ling Xiao's words, the two divine guards hastily fetched a palanquin and carried Ling Xiao into the palanquin. Perhaps they didn't notice that a lot of their blood qi had been absorbed, and Ling Xiao's injuries were healing at an accelerated rate. Ling Xiao did not feel that there was anything wrong with absorbing blood qi. These two divine guards had wanted to kill him that day, not to mention that they had made up a lie to lure him to Xianming's place. Would he pity two people like that? Unless there was something wrong with his head. After an unknown amount of time, the sedan stopped. Ling Xiao was carried out and placed on a red carpet. To Ling Xiao's surprise, it seemed like all the Black Tortoise Temple's experts had arrived. The 13 venerables of the 13 palaces, with the exception of the one who had been killed by the Wine Demon's sword, had all arrived. Moreover, the Profound Wind Sacred Palace seemed to have a new master, who was still a rebirth stage expert. 13 rebirth realm powerhouses actually surrounded a mere martial artist at the 15th level of the Yin-Yang realm. They were really giving him face. The two of you can leave now. Xianming waved his hand gently, indicating for the two divine guards to leave. Such a grand scene, it really scared me. I wonder what sect master Xianming wants to do. Ling Xiao asked with a cold smile. He didn't think that these people were here to heal him. Unless there was something wrong with their heads, they wouldn't believe such a preposterous thing. Xianming looked at Ling Xiao and smiled faintly. Ling Xiao, although you killed many of my Black Tortoise Temple's divine guards, kidnapped young Master Xianfeng, and disrespected me, your mistakes can be written off. Written off? Ling Xiao suddenly smiled. I'm afraid it's not that simple, right? Fortunately, the bones in his face were not broken. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to speak. He didn't believe that a delicious pie would suddenly fall from the sky. There was definitely a price to pay for everything. Don't let your imagination run wild. Your injuries are very serious. The reason all of us came out at the same time is so that you can participate in the final round of the Battle of the Kings. Otherwise, what do you think we can do? Do we need 13 rebirth stage powerhouses to kill you at the same time? Ling Xiao frowned. Although he wasn't too sure what the Xianming Gourd was up to, he definitely didn't believe that this fellow had such good intentions. Master, what do you think? Ling Xiao asked the Yuan Venerate via spirit voice transmission. Destiny. The Yuan Venerate's voice trembled slightly. What destiny? Ling Xiao asked in confusion. Oh no, disciple. These people want to use destiny on you. That is a type of treasure created using a wisp of a king of sovereign's spirit consciousness. It can only be used a limited number of times, but its power is very terrifying. It can make any martialist below the rebirth stage lose their sense of self, and be thoroughly brainwashed into becoming their loyal servant. The Yuan Venerate wanted to help Ling Xiao, but he was only a spirit at the moment. He simply couldn't help Ling Xiao and could only worry helplessly. Hurry up and ask the butterfly lady to help you escape from this place. Otherwise, you will become that old fellow's puppet for the rest of your life. Master, calm down. Ling Xiao appeared very calm at this tense moment. He knew that even if he used the power of the butterfly lady, he wouldn't be able to escape from the hands of these 13 powerhouses. Instead, he would expose his trump card. How can you ask me to calm down at a time like this? The Yuan Venerate smiled bitterly. His disciple was really able to remain calm at all times. Trust me, Master. I don't know how powerful the King of Sovereigns is, but I won't be afraid if it's just a wisp of his spirit consciousness. Ling Xiao was very confident. That was because the 7 great sky demon kings were sealed in his forehead. His body contained the immemorial golden crow battle intent and the immemorial sky demon battle intent. He also had the Tao Tai martial soul, the killing god's white blade martial soul, the immemorial hell dragon, the immemorial 5-element dragon, and the immemorial nature dragon. He also had the strongest tyrannical sky martial soul. All of these were the things he relied on for his powerful spirit consciousness. Furthermore, he had been cultivating the spirit origin remnant scroll all this time. His spirit had already been upgraded to a Yuan spirit, and its degree of condensation far exceeded that of an ordinary person's spirit. Even if it was just a wisp of a king of sovereign's spirit consciousness, could it really make him submit? He didn't believe it. There was no doubt that this was a huge gamble for Ling Xiao. If he lost, he wouldn't become someone else's puppet, even if he chose to self-destruct. If he won the gamble, then he would have a real chance of survival. Sect Master, everything is ready. You can begin now. The Magic Cube Venerate checked the time. This was the best time to use the forbidden technique, Destiny, on Ling Xiao. All right, let's begin then. Xian Ming nodded. When he looked at Ling Xiao, his eyes were cold and disdainful. A mere ant wouldn't be able to escape his grasp, no matter how hard he tried. With a wave of his hand, a strange magic treasure was taken out from his storage ring. That thing looked very much like an eye, a golden eye. Then it floated in midair. At the same time, the array formation in the room started to emit a strong light. 13 rebirth grade powerhouses actually poured their rebirth Yuan power into the treasure and array formation at the same time. Chapter 1949. The mandate of heaven cannot be disobeyed. Only by following the mandate of heaven can one achieve great things. Ling Xiao, realize your mistake and mend your ways. Following Xian Ming's roar, the golden eye that was suspended in midair released a dazzling ray of light. Then it shot directly into Ling Xiao's head. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt a strange sense of comfort. The broken bones in his body began to heal at an accelerated rate. Although it was a little itchy and numb, it still made him feel very comfortable. What exactly is this thing? Ling Xiao couldn't believe it. This ray of light had healed all his internal and external injuries in an instant. Not only that, but even his cultivation had risen by a level. He had advanced from the early stage to the intermediate stage of the 15th level. He could feel that at that moment he was in his peak condition. His bodily functions couldn't be any better. Just as he was feeling puzzled, an intense pain suddenly attacked him. A ball of golden light appeared in his soul realm, as if it was going to wrap around his soul. This is Xian Ming's true purpose. I knew that this old thing was up to no good. The recovery of his injuries was obviously to allow Ling Xiao's bodily functions to reach their peak. Otherwise, when the mandate of heaven took effect, Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to withstand it and would die immediately. Once the mandate of heaven's golden light completely wrapped around Ling Xiao's soul, Ling Xiao would become the servant of the mandate of heaven. He would be completely controlled by Xian Ming as a slave. No. How can I, Ling Xiao, become someone else's slave? I'd rather die than accept such a fate. If this is really the mandate of heaven, then I'll defy it. At that critical moment, he didn't hesitate to use the terrifying power of the heavenly tyrant martial soul. This power rushed out from the depths of his soul realm and instantly swallowed the mandate of heaven's golden light. It was dragged into his soul realm and disappeared without a trace. The power of the heavenly tyrant martial soul came and went quickly. It was almost a matter of an instant. However, in that short instant, the 13 rebirth realm experts of the Black Tortoise Temple were completely shocked. They looked at the scene in disbelief. Tianming had failed. Ling Xiao's body didn't have the aura of heaven's will. Instead, there was a resistance that made them feel very uncomfortable. How could it fail? This is something that has never happened before. Xianming looked at Ling Xiao in fright, as if the one sitting there wasn't a human, but a terrifying devil that could make him feel fear. Ling Xiao was only a 15th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist. How could he resist the divine light of heaven's mandate that even a rebirth realm cultivator could not resist? What exactly went wrong? The experts on the scene looked at each other. Even though they were very powerful, so powerful that they could easily kill Ling Xiao, they were still unable to do so. But it couldn't explain the frightening phenomenon before his eyes. Sect leader, what should we do? Should we continue trying? The heavenly mandate, divine light, has failed. It seems like Ling Xiao won't be able to forcefully subdue it. Venerable Rubix looked at Xianming and asked, "Try again." Xianming didn't believe that the heavenly mandate couldn't subdue Ling Xiao. He felt that something must have gone wrong. Therefore, after careful preparation, the second divine light of heaven's mandate was thrown into Ling Xiao's spirit realm. But this time, it ended much faster than the previous one. Ling Xiao was already prepared. The terrifying energy of the sky tyrant martial soul was hidden in his spirit realm. The moment the golden light shot into his spirit realm, it was completely devoured by the sky tyrant martial soul. This guy... Xianming stared at Ling Xiao and was extremely shocked. This guy is too difficult to deal with. With his talent, if we can subdue him, he will become a powerful rebirth realm martial artist in a few years. He will definitely be stronger than me. At that time, the Deep Earth sect will have a killing weapon in the Black Tortoise continent. What a pity! What a pity! Xianming felt very regretful. Although Ling Xiao had infuriated him, deep in his heart, he really didn't want to kill this person. Sect Master, it's time to make a decision. If we can't subdue such a person, we can only get rid of him. Venerable Rubix said coldly. Xianming nodded and called out, "Xianyi, bring Ling Xiao back to the prison and guard him." Xianyi walked in with 6 divine guards and led Ling Xiao out of the room. At this moment, Ling Xiao could move freely, but he didn't do so. There were so many experts here. If he acted without permission, he would be the unlucky one. Moreover, Xianyi wasn't weak. Since he could move freely now, it wouldn't be too late to do something in the middle of the night after returning to the prison. After Ling Xiao was brought away by Xianyi and the others, everyone looked at Sect Master Xianming. They could feel the terrifying threat of Ling Xiao. Until now, no one had been able to resist the divine light of destiny. Ling Xiao didn't seem to have any problems at all. He even wasted 2 chances and 2 king of sovereign's consciousness. Kill. Xianming said with a gloomy face, "Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish." Even if it was a pity, someone like Ling Xiao had to be killed. Otherwise, he would become a big problem in the future. Lawless heart skipped a beat when he heard Kiran's words. The saying, "the heavens are jealous of geniuses," was probably referring to something like this. Even if Ling Xiao didn't offend Black Tortoise Temple, as long as he didn't join Black Tortoise Temple, he wouldn't be able to escape death. No force would allow such a terrifying genius to continue living, especially when there was a grudge between them. Think of a way to save Xian Feng as soon as possible. Otherwise, even I can't do anything to Ling Xiao. You all know Xian Feng's identity. Although he is a piece of trash if something happens to him, We can't bear the responsibility. If it was possible, Xianming really wanted to kill Ling Xiao right now. After all, he had to worry for every day that Ling Xiao lived. However, because of Xian Feng, he had to hold back. However, Ling Xiao had been blacklisted by Xianming this time. He would definitely die, unless a stronger rebirth realm warrior came to save him. There was no possibility of him surviving. Get in. Xian, you pushed Ling Xiao into the prison and looked at him coldly. You don't have to look at me like that. Do you want to take revenge? It's a pity that you don't have the chance. The prison here was made of special materials. Even a rebirth state expert would not be able to break it. Unless you suddenly advance to a higher realm, you can just stay here and wait for your death. Before leaving, Xian Yi added, don't worry. In these 10 days, I will come to see you often. At the same time, I will bring you the most fun games. I won't let you feel lonely. After saying that, he laughed and left with a group of divine guards. He didn't even leave a guard behind. Chapter 1950. After watching Xian Yi leave, Ling Xiao suddenly trembled all over. Disciple, what's wrong? The Yuan Venerate couldn't help but ask when he sensed Ling Xiao's body trembling violently. He thought that Ling Xiao had been injured by the divine light of destiny. Ha 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 ha! Master, your disciple has really profited from a disaster this time. That idiot Xianming tried to brainwash me with the divine light of destiny, but it turned into an opportunity for me instead. What T training ground. It pales in comparison to the two spirit consciousnesses of a king of sovereigns. Ling Xiao laughed heartily. His trembling had also been caused by his excitement. I see. Perhaps this is what they mean by lose at the swings and gain at the roundabouts. That Xianming also shot himself in the foot. What do you intend to do next? The Yuan Venerate asked. I have to find a safe place and use the two spirit consciousnesses of a king of sovereigns to cultivate. Ling Xiao stood up and observed the situation around him. Xian Yi said that the sky prison was made of special materials and that even rebirth-grade martialists couldn't destroy it. He was simply lying to a child. Master, you should have already realized that the structure of the sky prison actually uses the Vajra array and other sturdy materials to create it. Yin-yang-grade martialists indeed can't destroy it, and rebirth-grade martialists who don't understand array formations can either. However, your disciple, I have both. Breaking the Vajra array wasn't a problem for Ling Xiao and the Yuan Venerate. The two of them worked together and took less than 10 minutes. Then, Ling Xiao borrowed the power of the butterfly lady and blasted open the prison door, which had already lost the protection of the Vajra array, before disappearing from the sky prison's sacred hall. Ling Xiao was very glad that he hadn't been too agitated back then and hadn't asked the butterfly lady to help him fight Xianming. Leaving the butterfly lady behind had been the right thing to do. 15 minutes after they escaped from the sky prison, the entire sky prison's sacred hall's alarm went off. Xianming, Venerable Rubik's Cube, Lawless, Bound Sky, and Xian Yi all arrived at the scene. They looked at the shattered prison door in astonishment, not knowing what to say for a moment. That Ling Xiao is skilled in formations, but even if he can break the Vajra formation, he still needs the assistance of a rebirth realm martial artist to open the prison door. Who exactly is it? Bound Star bellowed furiously while turning to Lawless. What are you looking at me for? I was with Venerable Magic Cube at that time. Lawless did think about saving Ling Xiao so that he wouldn't have to break his oath, but he didn't do it in the end. In fact, he didn't know how Ling Xiao escaped from here, and he was very surprised. Enough! This is not the time for infighting. Xianming shouted. His anger had reached its peak. Little Ling Xiao not only resisted the baptism of the heavenly mandate divine light, but he also escaped from the prison. This was simply an insult to him. Sect Master, I heard that 300 years ago, a felon disappeared from the heavenly prison shrine. Venerable Magic Cube suddenly said, That's right, there was such a thing. That fellow was the former lord of Nine Heaven Palace. Xian Ming nodded. In order to capture that bastard, I joined forces with the Deep Earth sex elites and used some underhanded methods to capture him and throw him into prison. But when we were about to execute him, he was already gone. No one reported that he escaped from the heavenly prison shrine at the time. So what do you mean by mentioning him? Do you think he's still alive? Is he the one who saved Ling Xiao? This subordinate was thinking the same thing. Venerable Magic Cube nodded. Impossible. He was beaten half to death by us. There's no way he could have lived for 300 years if he didn't get timely treatment. Xian Ming waved a hand. But to be on the safe side, Boundstar, mobilize all idle heavenly prison divine guards at once and search the entire heavenly prison shrine. This subordinate will do as you bid. While Xian Ming was enraged, Ling Xiao was grabbed by a skinny hand and pulled into a space of nothingness. There was nothing here. Everything was black as far as the eye could see. Who is it? Ling Xiao asked warily. And who are you? A figure flashed before Ling Xiao's eyes. Bony and disheveled. She looked like a ghost. She didn't answer Ling Xiao's question, and instead asked a question. This junior is Ling Xiao, the Celestial Emperor of the Dragon Phoenix Continents, Celestial Dynasty. Ling Xiao spoke the truth because he could feel that this woman, who looked as thin as a stick, had absolute power. She could easily kill him. There was no need to lie. Nonsense. There's only the Celestial Dragon Continent and the Divine Phoenix Continent. There's no Dragon Phoenix Continent, and what's the Celestial Dynasty? That bony figure suddenly appeared in front of Ling Xiao and grabbed Ling Xiao by the neck, speaking coldly. Senior has probably been locked up here for a long time. To be honest, the sacred dynasty was plotted against by the new True Devil Empire. Later on, this junior established the Celestial Dynasty and overthrew the new True Devil Empire. After that, I occupied the Divine Phoenix Continent and defeated the Black Crow Empire and the Divine Phoenix Empire. When this junior unified the two continents, they actually merged into one and became a continent. Therefore, this junior called it the Dragon Phoenix Continent. Ling Xiao replied carefully. Since he was telling the truth, he wasn't afraid that the other party would find any problems. The prophecy is actually true. Have you ever been a beggar? The bony woman asked, but her hand had already loosened. Before this junior practiced martial arts, he was indeed a beggar. Ling Xiao answered truthfully. You were born in the Divine Phoenix Empire, but you started practicing martial arts in the Celestial Dragon Continent, right? That's right. How does Senior know so much about this junior? This time, it was Ling Xiao's turn to be shocked. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Xianming, oh Xianming, your doomsday has arrived. Your retribution has arrived. Who would have thought that the prophecy that the Nine Heavens Palace had always treated as a joke was actually true? Good boy, are you willing to promise me one thing? The bony woman asked. Senior, please speak. After you get out, help me kill Xianming and destroy the Black Tortoise Temple. I will transfer all of my remaining strength to you. When the bony woman said this, her voice was filled with deep hatred. Even if you didn't say this, I would have done it. To be honest, this junior came to participate in the White Tiger meet. Originally, this junior had obtained the treasure hunt, but that shameless Xian Ming took away the opportunity to participate in the trial. He even locked me up in the celestial prison and continuously tortured me. Fortunately, I had the help of an expert, so I was able to successfully escape and was captured by you. Although Ling Xiao was basically telling the truth, there were still some lies. After all, this was the first time he had met this person, so it was impossible for him to completely trust her. There didn't seem to be anything wrong with lying a little. He has always been so shameless. If he hadn't used such shameless methods back then, how could he have defeated me? The woman was furious. Do you dare to swear on what you just said?